All right. Greetings and salutations, everybody. Supposedly we're live here on the channel. Welcome. For those of you who are just stopping by, say what's up. All we're doing today, I'm answering questions you guys sent in through the comment section. So go ahead, send anything through the live chat. Let me know what you guys are wondering. If you have any questions regarding fantasy football, I'm ready to answer them. So hopefully we can have a pretty fun experience here. Chop it up, talk some fantasy, and you know, do what we do best. All right, let's go ahead. What's up, guys? How's it going, Mark? How's it going, Terry? What's up, Alpha? All right, Lucas, how's it going? All right, guys, here we go. So let's start it off from the top, shall we? Caleb Newton's asking, what are your thoughts on drafting Gurley as an RB3 in a full PPR format? I don't know if you guys saw the article the other day, but the coaching staff for the Atlanta Falcons was a little worried about Gurley's knee as he was noticeably limping, quote unquote, limping, at practice, and they're going to limit his reps during the preseason / off-season training camp. That in itself is already something of a red flag. Obviously, we thought he was injured last year. He continues to be injured. As my third RB, I don't mind it. But again, as the weeks continue, I'm beginning to kind of fade away from drafting Todd Gurley and relying upon him. Just depends on the value, of course. Moving on, what's up, Mark? How's it going? Terry says, what's good, Andrew? Nothing much, man. I'm just chilling. Just want to hang out with you guys, see what you guys are wondering in terms of fantasy football, everything of that nature. Let's just talk it up. Alpha says, let's see here. Alpha Jerk, first one. Yeah, okay, there's two alphas, but regardless. Alpha Jerk says, Hunt or Mostert in a half PPR? At this moment in time, I'm more inclined to probably go Raheem Mostert, considering he'll get the goal line work for the San Francisco 49ers in comparison to, Kareem Hunt, who's got some passing work that is going to come in his direction for sure. And that makes a huge difference. But, Nick Chubb's going to lock it down. He's one of the better running backs in the National Football League. And yes, Hunt will get his opportunities here and there. But even with the RBBC in San Francisco, I'd rather have Mostert this coming season. If it was a full PPR, then I'd for sure be on the Kareem Hunt train, just to kind of give you some perspective. Let's see here. The other alpha says, how do you rank Golladay, Moore, Robinson in a full PPR? I've already asked, but I want clarification. So in a full PPR, I'd rather have DJ Moore and Allen Robinson over Golladay, just purely off of receptions. Golladay, even with, I think it was in the first 8 games of the season last season, Golladay only had like 37 receptions with Matthew Stafford. And in the second half of the season without Matthew Stafford, he had like 35. So it's not a matter of the quarterback play. It's just a matter of his play style. The fact that he's, going after 50-50 balls or deep pass routes. Galladay's not a guy that's going to have a lot of reception. Sure, his touchdowns are going to compensate for that, but it's not enough to where in a full PPR scoring format, he can miss out on a potential 40 plus, 50 plus points due to the fact that he's not, grabbing upwards of 100 passes, which I believe Moore and Allen Robinson are surely capable of doing. And in between the two, Allen Robinson and DJ Moore, I guess it just depends. As of this moment in time, I know I put out a video on both those guys. If you guys are interested, you go down to the channel. I did a video talking about both those guys. I really do think they're going to be great wide receivers, especially guys that you can get in your second or third rounds to solidify that receiver position, especially when you go running back early. But at this moment in time, I'd probably go Moore over Robinson. I just feel like his upside is just, it's there. And after what he produced last year, the improvements at quarterback, and then the quarterback questions in Chicago, I'd rather lean with DJ Moore. Thanks for the question. Moving on, Lucas says, greetings, salutation. Glad to see you back. Looking forward to the season. Thank you very much, Lucas. Glad you're here. Thanks for hanging out. If you have any questions, let me know. Mark says thoughts, and you were saying Chubb in a 14-team PPR. In the first round, in a PPR, Chubb, that's a tough one. In a 14-team league, I can understand, but it just depends where you draft him, Mark. If you tell me exactly what selection you have in the first round, then I'm probably more inclined to either, select him or not. I mean, I think if you're in the back end of the first round and you're going to grab Chubb and then you're going to follow it up with another wide receiver, or a running back in the second round, just quickly after on the turn, then I can understand that. But in an earlier slot, I don't think it's worth. Mike Wright says, "What's up? How's it going, dude?" Let's see here. What's up, Caesar? How's it going? How's it going, Scott? I have the 11th pick in a standard. What running back duo should I try to leave with in the first 2 rounds? Okay, so I think I was asked this a little bit earlier. I think it was yesterday or today, and I was kind of looking into standard leagues. Even though I don't play in a standard league, I know a lot of you still do, so I try to keep as up to date with that as possible. So of the top 12 flex players last year, I mean, so basically running back, wide receivers, and tight ends, only one position outside of running back was in the top 12, which is Michael Thomas, who finished number, let's see, where did he finish amongst the flex? I think he was at number 5 or 6. He was number 6 overall player. So going into a standard league, far and away, you have to take running backs, especially because of the running back drop off at the position. I think from a running back 1 to a running back 2 on average last year in a standard league, it was about a almost a 32%, 31% drop off of production in comparison to the wide receiver position. From wide receiver 1s to wide receiver 2s only being like a 13 or 12% drop off in total fantasy points. So you definitely want to go double RBs. Now, in terms of who you want to go with at the back end of the first round, if somehow Josh Jacobs is back there, I'd absolutely love to have him. And I'd also like to have either Nick Chubb and or Miles Sanders, maybe even Aaron Jones. But in the back end of the first round, I don't know if you need to go Aaron Jones. I'd rather have Josh Jacobs, Nick Chubb, if you can get them back to back at the end of the first with the 11th pick. So hopefully that helps. Moving on, let's see here. Alpha1102 says, how's your day been so far? Love the vids. Day's pretty good. I mean, it's a Saturday. We're chilling. You know, I didn't put out a video earlier today. I thought, you know what? Let me go ahead. Let me live stream. I'm sure you guys would rather have the ability to just kind of pick my brain, talk to me for a couple hours here, and just figure out everything in terms of if you have any questions regarding the channel, if you have anything in terms of fantasy. I know we're getting to the point of where you guys will eventually start drafting in the next couple weeks. Obviously, a lot of you guys are waiting, as am I. Don't worry, I'm waiting until just about September, maybe the weekend prior to, maybe 2 weeks before the season starts, most likely a week before the season starts, but regardless, we always want to be able to, strategize and kind of figure everything out. So all's been good. Thank you for asking, Alpha. I appreciate you guys coming out, hanging out here today. So that's all I ask. So thank you. All right. Trademark 95 says, if I get slotted, my goodness, hold up. Give me a second, guys. All right. So his question is, if I get slotted to draft after top 5, should I go for top wide receiver or solid RB? I guess it just depends on what your scoring format is. I think the blue chip running backs, the Christian McCaffrey, Saquon, Zeke, Alvin Kamara, and then Dalvin Cook, assuming he signs. If those 5 guys are gone, in a full PPR, it's kind of a hard thing to do to leave Michael Thomas on the board. But I could see the argument in a half PPR to leave him on the board and go for another prospect. It just depends what scoring format. Just let me know and we can chop it up and I'll give you my thoughts. Maybe it's a standard. I don't know. You let me know. I had In-N-Out for lunch today. What did you eat today, Andrew? Honestly, I had sausage and eggs with a croissant this morning, and it was fantastic. You go to Costco, you get the big containers of those croissants. Boom. It was quite enjoyable. But that's pretty much all I've eaten. I'll probably eat after the stream. Let's see here. Cesar Garza says, Connor or Gurley in a standard league? Honestly, I'd probably... Oh, that's actually a really good question. But at this moment in time, I think we're going to go with Gurley. Connor, despite the Gurley injury and news that has recently, come to fruition and kind of been exposed and all this kind of dealings and, he's limping and, he might not be able to play a full season. He still played a full season last year, which, 15 games, it's pretty good for, in my opinion. So I think in comparison to Connor, he probably has a, lesser likelihood of missing time because Connor's done it for each of the past 2 seasons. So I'd rather just go with a Gurley at this point, Caesar. Evan Wheeler says, so if Derrick Henry is gone, and so is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and you draft Miles Sanders and Austin Eckler, Do you try to get Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb? Okay, so let me see if I can understand this. So there's no more Derrick Henry or Clyde Edwards. You draft Miles Sanders and Austin Eckler, or do you draft... Okay, so which of the two pairs do I like? Personally, of all those guys, I want Joe Mixon more than all of them. I'd rather have Joe Mixon over Eckler, Sanders, and Nick Chubb right now, assuming it's some sort of PPR format, like a half potentially, because that's usually the middle ground. After that, there's an argument between Nick Chubb and Sanders, and if you're as crazy as I am, then there's an argument for Eckler. But I think the safe play at that moment in time just to go Nick Chubb and Joe Mixon, like you kind of paired them together, Evan. James Devlin, interesting. That used to be he used to be the fullback for the New England Patriots. He retired, I think, this past season, but identical name. Who's going to be the top waiver wire pickup of this year? That's a fantastic question. If I had the answer, I'd be calling Vegas right now, putting in the bet that XYZ player is going to be the big one. So if I knew it, trust me, I wouldn't tell you. I'd be putting down the money. Terry Good says, I went heavy on wide receiver, so I drafted Boston Scott. Is he startable? Just depends. Or he's a sleeper back that I can get. Okay, so here's the thing about Boston Scott. He's going to be 100% the backup for Miles Sanders. In terms of fantasy productivity, he had a little bit at the back end of last season because Miles Sanders was slowing down and got a little bit of an injury in week 17. Boston Scott also got a lot of receptions out of the backfield because of the fact that the Eagles did not have receivers. At the start of this season, they have Deshaun Jackson back, they have Alshon Jeffrey back, they have Jalen Reagor, the rookie wide receiver, and they still have those two deadly tight ends. So I don't think Boston Scott's going to be as productive as he was late last season. So he really is just a handcuff and nothing more at this moment in time. Good question though, Terry. All right, let's see. Oh, excuse me. I scrolled a little bit too much here. Okay. Would you take a late second round half PPR Gurley, Fournette, or David Johnson? No, I wouldn't take any of them in the late second. I really feel like there's so much more value that should be left on the board at that point. If it's a half PPR scoring format and people haven't taken valuable wide receivers that should have been taken before Gurley, Fournette, and David Johnson, I'm going to be extremely surprised because I don't think these three guys are RB1 material this year. There's just far too much talent stacked at the top of the position. These guys would have to have absolutely ridiculous years to be able to at least compete in that spot. So at this moment in time, no, I don't think. If I had to pick between the three, I'd go Fournette over Gurley and David Johnson at this moment because of his ability in the passing game, just purely off of that, and because his touchdowns are going to go up in comparison to last year. Mike Rice says, I'm keeping Cook in the first round. Okay, this is a keeper league. Should I keep Connor in the 8th or Andrews in the 9th? I keep Andrews in the 9th, and it's not even close. It's a fantastic question, but Mark Andrews is far and away the better choice because you're not only going to be able to keep him for the next couple of years. For a fact he's the number one receiving option in the Ravens offense, who's going to continue to be one of the better offenses in the National Football League. Connor's on his last year of his contract going into this coming season. If he doesn't, re-sign, I don't think you're going to be able to keep him next year. It's certainly Andrews at this moment in time. So yeah. James Devlin says, which running back or wide receiver would you go after in the end of the third or and the beginning of the fourth? Look, these are kind of like broad-ended questions, guys. At that moment in time, I don't know what's available on the board. There's so many different draft patterns. There's so many different variables in terms of what I can predict is going to happen. If I was to guess a running back or a wide receiver going at the end of the third, beginning of the fourth, I'm thinking the guys that I had mentioned a little bit earlier, I would hope that, a Fournette, Gurley, and David Johnson are late third, early fourth guys at the running back position. At the wide receiver position, it's like a Robert Woods, Calvin Ridley, DJ Chark, AJ Brown kind of conversation. Just to kind of throw a couple names out there. Do you think Will Fuller's weight gain will make him less injury prone or more productive overall? If so, rank him in comparison to the Houston wide receivers. Thank you. That's a good question. Look, I don't think weight gain is going to help him. In terms of his durability, he's always getting injured with hamstring injuries. It's something that's plagued him every single year, and it's not stopping, right? So it's honestly just his genetics. And it's something that, he could try to prepare for, but if he continues to just re-aggravate the same type of injury over and over again, it's something that he's never going to be able to avoid. Now, if I was going to rank all of the Houston wide receivers at this moment in time, I'd rather have Brandon Cooks over Will Fuller in terms of productivity and ADP and injury history. Brandon Cooks, a lot of people say he's a couple concussions away from being done. But I'll take my gamble on it. This guy caught the ball for 1,000 yards 4 seasons in a row. And sure, he wasn't great last year, but that's why I'm going to get him at a bigger discount than what people are paying for Fuller. Taylor says, I drafted Julio, Kittle, Drake in my first year in a new dynasty league. I got roasted for those first 3 picks. What do you think of them? I don't mind it at all. I mean, look, in terms of building a roster for a dynasty, you typically want to have young running backs. They're going to have longevity in the league. Julio Jones, I mean, we all know is on the back end of his career, but he's one of the best wide receivers of all time. Could be a future Hall of Famer, certainly. Kittle's one of the best, tight ends in the league. He just got up for a new contract. He's only going into his 4th year this year. So Kittle's good for the future. Kenny Drake's good for the future. Julio's on the back end of his career, but that's not a problem. I mean, you're going to need more RB help. So hopefully you invested more in running back. And then the quarterback position in a new dynasty league, I'm assuming it's not super flex, so you don't really have to worry about it for quite some time. I think you'll probably be able to get like a Dak in the 7th round, and you'll be fine. I don't mind those picks. It's just all perspective, I guess. But yeah, when people roast each other for stuff like that, especially in your own league, just don't even worry about it. Just be like, just wait until the season shows up, and we'll see how it breaks down. What's your thoughts on Curtis Samuel? Curtis Samuel's a good wide receiver. If I'm not mistaken, half PPR last season finished as the wide receiver number 36. That's pretty much where he kind of finds his value. He's a slot receiver, had good touchdown upside last season, will always have the ability to make a big play, whether it's on the ground in like a design jet sweep or handoff, the guy was a monster in college doing that, so that's why they continue to do that for the Panthers. But yeah, he's a decent wide receiver that I want on my bench that I can bring in a good matchup or potentially when my guys are on bye week. So I don't mind him as like my number 5 wide receiver. Let's see here. Moving on. Travis says Christian McCaffrey number 1, then DJ Moore number 2, 3 on the 2 and 3 turn in the 12-team league. I don't mind that at all. I think I talked about it with Alpha 1102 was asking me in the comment section yesterday, do you mind going DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey? Because I continue to see that as a potential option as well when I do my mock drafts, that DJ Moore stays into the late 2nd, early 3rd, and I think DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, that stack is similar to the value of it's not identically in terms of how valuable, but they could both succeed in their offenses in terms of fantasy, and it's and be mutually exclusive. They're not going to impede on each other's value, similar to an Alvin Kamara and a Michael Thomas. That kind of stack is like kind of what I compare it to. So I don't think it's a big deal at all. Or like Amari Cooper or Zeke Elliott, like those kind of stacks, I don't mind having them because I know both of them are top 12 talent, and that talent alone and productivity and opportunity, it's just going to continue to feast, and they're not going to really hurt each other. Now, if it was 2 top 12 wide receivers, if we're talking about if we're talking about Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, then we have a conversation about, are we really willing to take 2 of the same team's wide receivers and start them every week if one is impeding on the other one's potential upside? My Wi-Fi is lagging a bit, says Mark. It said, I was at 13th and followed up with Hopkins. Yeah, I think that's good. I don't mind that. Going Hopkins and Nick Chubb in the first 2 rounds of my 14-team league in a full PPR, that's not bad. I don't mind that. Chase says, how you doing, Andrew? I'm doing good, Chase. How you doing? How you doing? No, I'm just, let's see here. 12 spot, 2 QB league. Okay, opinions on going RB, QB, RB. If Henry or Cook fall to me, does that change anything? Even Sanders or Clyde Edwards-Helaire is hard for me to pass on, my opinion. Okay, so in a 2 QB league, I think certainly go check out the video that I talk about the different strategies in which I kind of break that down. But at this moment in time, if you're at the very last pick of the first round, I do not mind going double RB. I think it's perfectly fine as long as you're willing to take your best quarterback is going to be a guy like Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan. Of your two quarterbacks, the better one is going to be in that like 9, 10, 11, 12 ranking spot. Maybe Tom Brady's there, maybe Josh Allen's available in the 3rd and 4th round. So I think that's where you can find the talent there. But typically in the first 3 rounds of a 2 QB league, 12 quarterbacks are taken. So I think in the 3rd round, if you address running back 1 and 2, and then in 3 and 4, maybe you go either wide receiver or tight end at 3, and then at 4, because again, you go back-to-back picks, take your quarterback, and then when it comes back to you in the 5th and 6th, you can go ahead and address quarterback once again, and then also address either a wide receiver, tight end, or running back, and then just kind of continue to flush it down. But you would definitely want to get your quarterback at round 3 and round at least 5 or 6 if you're going to draft double RB first, which again, it has worked in the past. Let's go ahead. Let's move on. Here we go. I know there's a lot of you. I'm going to try to go through these questions quickly so that I can get to everybody. I know, usually I have long-winded opinions on things, but I'm just trying to kind of give you guys the best possible breakdown. So sorry if it, aggravates you or if I miss a question. Here we go. So we are back up here. Michael's asking Gurley, David Johnson, or Ridley. If I was to draft one of them, look, again, this is another one of these broad questions. I don't know how the rest of my team looks. Am I just picking who I think is going to score the most points this year? Or, if even in that scenario, right? I don't even know what scoring format we're talking about. So if you guys can just I know a lot of you already do it, just put your scoring format and try to give me more context in terms of, what you're asking. Because Gurley, David Johnson, or Ridley, that's kind of an open-ended question. But if I was to just pick you one and say who's going to score the most possible points this year of the 3, actually, you know what? Let me actually look at this. Let's see. Let me go to a half PPR scoring format. What did Gurley put up last year? I think he put up 205, right? Todd Gurley last year put up 203.9 fantasy points. Does Calvin really score more than that this year? Yeah, Calvin Ridley's the best of the 3 in a half PPR. Let's see here. All right, there we go. Geeks of Liberty with a donation. Thank you very much, sir. I really do appreciate it. Says, with Gurley and his workload management, quote unquote, things happening again. Workload management things happening again. Would you trade him for David Johnson for the flex position in a half PPR? I don't mind that. Look, I think with Gurley and or David Johnson, there's arguments for and against, and I can easily make them and probably convince you of it. But the whole thing is that the greatest ability for a running back, or in any fantasy football player sense, the greatest ability is availability. And if he's not available on a weekly basis and he's continuously getting hurt, or there's workload management and we're not going to be able to see him get more than 20 touches in a singular game because they're counting his snaps and all that kind of jazz, then yeah, I'm going to lean away from Todd Gurley. And I do not mind replacing him with a David Johnson, because I know if David Johnson's going to get a little bit more work in the passing game than we anticipate, then he could definitely be a guy that is in that top 16 running back conversation. But at this moment in time, if you're worried about an injury and it's already the preseason, then yeah, I think it might be, it could be time to move on. But you don't have to. Again, Gurley could still play 15, 16 games this year, but at a more limited role. Or they're just being precautionary. Again, we don't have all the information, but again, hopefully that helps. Thank you again for the donation. Let me go ahead and move on here. All right, I'm going through these quickly. Fresh Prince, 1986 says, thoughts on Diggs. Nobody's talking about him. Yeah, nobody's talking about him because Josh Allen's his quarterback, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think John Brown was a fantastic wide receiver last year. I think John Brown in a half PPR, if I'm not mistaken, was a top 24 wide receiver. Let me figure out exactly where it was. John Brown finished as the number 20 overall wide receiver. He even had a better season than Stephon Diggs had last year within a Bills offense in which the quarterback threw the ball 58% of the time, with the completion percentage really low. So that in itself, not great. Diggs is being slept on because of the quarterback that he's attached with. It's the same conversation that I had yesterday about Allen Robinson and Mitch Trubisky. People are scared of quarterbacks, therefore they undervalue receivers. I wouldn't mind grabbing Diggs late in my drafts, and I have before, and I will continue to do it again. So that's my thought process. He's still a really talented guy. In an offense, it's kind of rough. Now, also, when you're playing in some of the weather conditions that they're going to have, catching the ball, 8 times a game like he wants to is not going to happen. So it's going to also be managing Diggs and his mental as he plays for the Bills and, throws a fit here and there. Kevin says, what's up, Andrew? What do you think about, which would you value more? Kittle in the 3rd or pass on a wide receiver 1 or Andrews in the 5th, half PPR? Which one would I rather have? I'd rather have Andrews in the 5th and get a wide receiver 1. Yeah. You'll never get Andrews in the 5th, but if you can get him in the 5th, 100%. That's what I would rather have. Let's see here. Quan Chapman says, okay, I'm in a full PPR keeper league. I have Cooper Kupp as a 5th round keeper. In the 1st, do I take Michael Thomas as my first receiver off the board, or do I go Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, or Chubb? Thank you. All right, that's a good question. I'm assuming. Okay, so Cooper Kupp doesn't really matter. You're appeasing a Rams fan, so thank you very much. I appreciate that. Outside of Michael Thomas, okay, so if it's a full PPR, I have a hard time not going Michael Thomas in the 1st. So yeah, I would go Michael Thomas over Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, and Nick Chubb. As much as I like those guys, if Chubb and Jacobs got more work in the passing game, then there would be a conversation. But at this moment in time, Michael Thomas is too valuable in the full PPR format to miss on that. So yeah, that's my thought process. Now, I know you already have an established wide receiver in the 5th, but it still doesn't take away the value that you'd be leaving on the board if you didn't go with Michael Thomas there. Let's see. Caleb Newton says, Gurley, McLaurin, Chark, what order? Again, what does your team look like? It's a broad, it's open-ended question. It's just kind of hard to answer. Let's see here. Andrew, let's see here. Oh, your name's, okay, cool. Let's see here. Why in the world we always pass on great quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes in the 1st round? No team with Mahomes is weak. No. Okay. This conversation can be had, and it is a very long-winded one. It is without a doubt. Okay, so let me just put it in perspective so we can go quickly here. If you take a quarterback in the 1st round, you're taking a discount on every subsequent draft selection that you have until the other teams in your league have already all drafted quarterbacks. Now, let me, for example, put this. If in the 1st round you miss out on a guy that averages 18 fantasy points per week as the running back, okay, and you fill in a quarterback that's going to average 24, okay? In the 2nd round, your actual RB1 is going to be a guy that puts up 13 points a week. So you took a 5-point discount, points per week, on the running back position. Now, if I go take a 5-point discount as my quarterback, all I have to do is go and find Matthew Stafford in my 8th round, and I've already equalized what you went and did. But the only difference is I have a running back that's going to sit in my RB1 slot for the entire year, and the drop-off in terms of productivity in which you're going to have as your 3rd or 4th running back is going to be so much more significant on a weekly basis that you are eventually going to see your roster deteriorate in productivity-wise, have lesser point per week outputs because of that RB contribution that you're not going to have because you didn't invest early. Again, this is a long-winded conversation. It's all in my draft kit. Thank you very much. I'm moving on. Let's see here. Taylor says, I draft. Okay, yeah. We already did that one. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And we had another donation from Geeks of Liberty. Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it. Do you see Prescott regressing this season? Absolutely not. I think Prescott is even a potential, I don't even want to say, but I think he's a potential MVP candidate. Because I think, okay, what are the MVP candidates? Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. Who else can potentially make the next step forward? I mean, it's all in the table of, it's all sitting in the lap of Dak. It's just a matter of whether he takes advantage of it. Okay, so let me scroll back up. I don't want to miss any questions because I know it makes you guys. Okay, let's see here. I drafted Julio Kittle. Okay, we already answered that one. If you answered it, I was rolling a joint. Okay, Taylor. No, I was saying that drafting Julio, Kittle, and Drake in your dynasty is not a bad problem. It's just, you typically want to grab young running backs that are going to be the future of your team. Hopefully you grabbed another one outside of Drake for the rest of your draft. Also, you could probably draft a quarterback late in the round, so you don't have to really worry about it. Mark Hall says, took your advice on this one. James Devlin says, for the 11th pick in a 12-team standard, would you go, let's see here. What would you draft in the first 6 rounds? Okay, look, this, James, that's really hard. Would you go first 3 rounds RB, then wide receiver? Look, again, so just so we're on the same page. Draft strategies are ever flowing. You know, there's never a solidified strategy that I'm going to execute because it's 100% success rate. The thing about a draft is that it's all about reaction and being able to anticipate what other people do, and being able to, if in fact it goes in opposite direction, be able to stay composed and make the right decision and be prepared to make the right decision. There's never a, hey, I'm going to do triple RB no matter what, because if in the second round Michael Thomas is sitting there, I'm going to draft him and I'm going to abandon the quote unquote strategy, and I'm never going to uphold to one singular thought process. Let's see here. Okay. Jimmy says, full PPR. Who do you like more, Derrick Henry or Clyde Edwards? That's a good question. To be honest, I see Clyde Edwards go off the board before Derrick Henry. Sometimes I pick Clyde Edwards more than Derrick Henry because I play in more leagues. I mean, I play in double-digit amount of leagues. Probably I'll play in 15 leagues this year. And because of it, I got to diversify, right? So I have to have more than one of Derrick Henry at least, or in one or more Clyde Edwards here and there, just depending on where I pick. But I'll dabble in both. But if I had to definitively say who I'd rather have in a full PPR, I'd probably be Clyde Edwards, because he honestly could catch the ball 60, 70 times this year, maybe get to even 80. I don't know. Alfredo says, T.Y. or Keenan Allen? As of right now, Keenan Allen, because T.Y. Hilton's already hurt. I think he already aggravated his quad injury, which he was dealing with the last couple seasons. Do you anticipate a decent fantasy production from Joe Burrow? Yeah, I mean, he's a top 20 quarterback. He probably sits at number 20, to be honest, in my eyes. He's got too much talent surrounding him for him not to be a good quarterback. I understand his schedule is pretty tough considering the division they play in and the defenses that he'll have to face there. But in the rest of his schedule, there's a chance that he could be pretty good. I mean, to be a top 20 quarterback in fantasy, you just got to throw 20 touchdowns and keep the interceptions low. And I think Joe Burrow is capable of doing that. Kevin says, if you go RB wide receiver, would you target the likes of Connor, Melvin Gordon, Gurley, or take a second wide receiver like Cooks or Ridley? I mean, so you're saying, okay, if I'm going into my 4th round and these are the available players, which one would I rather have? Okay. Again, it depends who I have as my other picks. Again, there's a lot of variables. I can't just blindly say, but I would never pick Connor over Ridley or Woods. I would never. Do I want to pick Melvin Gordon over? At this point, I'd probably take Gordon over Gurley, but would I take Gordon over Woods and Ridley? Let's say in a half. What is the scoring format? You don't even say that. Damn. If it's a full PPR, we go with the wide receiver. It's a half PPR, we probably go with Melvin Gordon and be somewhat happy with it. But to be honest, I think taking a Woods and Ridley over one of these 3 running backs is not a bad decision, considering all 3 of those guys have had really shaky injury history over the last couple weeks, or months, years. Yikes. Alfredo says, Henry or Cook? At this moment in time, Henry, because Cook hasn't signed a contract and hasn't showed up to camp. Let's see here. Mark Hall says, Derrick Henry, 2.6. Wait, what in the heck? Oh, okay. This is your draft. Okay, cool. I was so confused. So 7th overall pick, you took Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs in the 2nd round, Kenny Golladay in the 3rd, Aaron Rodgers in the 4th. You didn't need to do that. Devin Singletary in the 5th, DK Metcalf in the 6th. Wow, it still paid off. Ertz in the 7th. That's a steal. I don't understand why. And wow, okay. Oh, it's a 2 QB league. I'm assuming that's why you have Jared Goff in the 9th. Okay, not a bad draft. I'm not a big Aaron Rodgers fan this year, but honestly, I do not mind this draft at all, especially considering you got Ertz in the 7th and Metcalf in the 6th. So not bad. Let's see here. Daniel says, in a full PPR, is it bad to go heavy RB or wait for a wide receiver possibly in the 5th or 6th? Yeah, it's not a good idea. I have the first pick. I'm thinking of drafting Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette, then David Johnson, and then Montgomery / Watson, then a wide receiver. I would definitely not suggest going 4 or 5 picks without addressing your wide receiver position in a full PPR. I think that is probably the most detrimental thing you can do. I understand you want to go heavy RB, but after you get 2 of them, you can probably then now start addressing your wide receiver position because, to be honest, drafting, like let's say, for example, you take Christian McCaffrey and Leonard Fournette, you're good to go. But in your third pick, if you take David Johnson, the wide receivers that you left on the board in relation are going to produce far more points than David Johnson this year, I'm assuming, of course, because I don't know the immediate future. Otherwise, I'd be putting bets down in Vegas. But yeah, I do think that if you're leaving wide receivers on the board, I mean, what's left in the 5th or 6th potentially? I know there's still a lot of talent on the board theoretically, but those guys are going to have to produce every single effing week. Jake L says, do you like Kittle or Golladay in a full PPR? Actually, you know what? Let's look at this. Because if Kittle stayed healthy last year, he would have had the exact same amount of production as Travis Kelce, as they had the same amount of fantasy points per game total. Now, Kittle would have finished with 254 fantasy points last year. Golladay finished with a total, I think he had far less. Yeah. Honestly, I'd probably go with Kittle just because I'd rather just have my tight end of the entire season and not have to worry about it, rather than go wide receiver. Because if they're going to produce the same amount of points, at least I'll have a tight end while everybody else is struggling to have, some semblance of a tight end on their roster. My guy will at least be one of the top tier guys in putting up 240, 245 fantasy points in the season. Let's see here. This is my first. Okay, Miles Sanders, Clyde Edwards at number 9. I mean, at this moment in time, I'd probably go with Clyde, but I could see the argument for Miles Sanders again. It's up to preference. I mean, do you trust the rookie running back? A lot of people don't. I personally do, so I'd probably go Clyde. And somehow, Clyde is kind of I don't know. He's an imposing figure to people. They don't want to miss. And I understand, like, if you play in one league every year and he's going to be your first round pick and you don't want to fail it because this is your only league that you play in, then I understand, you opting for a safer selection in the first round. I fully understand it. But from my perspective, because there's so many leagues I play in, I don't mind messing up one, and even messing up is kind of it isn't even the right description of it. If Clyde Edwards doesn't end up being, the 9th best overall player in a flex priority, then, it's considered a mess up, but I don't even mind missing that as long as he produces relatively close to it. Would it be smart to draft Allen in the 7th, per se, over Dak in the 4th or 5th? I guess it just depends on perspective. I think waiting at quarterback as much as you possibly can is a great idea. And being able to grab guys that have the ability to run the ball, that's always nice, especially with a guy like Josh Allen. But obviously when you take a Dak, you're going to get more points per week from the quarterback, but then you're leaving up guys on the board. So yeah, I would always want to opt for the later quarterback. Thank you for another donation, Geeks of Liberty. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Best guess on who lands as the RB1 for Washington, as startable once decided. I think Adrian Peterson's going to be the RB1. But over time, if maybe he gets injured or something of that nature happens, I've heard a lot about Antonio Gibson and Bryce Love this offseason. And that continues, to build. And the hype is building behind them. And potentially, if you want to go ahead and make a late round selection in your draft this year, Geeks of Liberty, I would suggest maybe grabbing an Antonio Gibson late instead of grabbing one of those other types of handcuffs that you could. Because in a couple weeks, it's all it takes. Maybe Gibson comes in for a couple plays, makes off with a couple big runs, and then he starts breaking into the weekly production. Adrian Peterson gets hurt again. He's an older guy, maybe fumbles, and then you got yourself an RB1 or a split committee guy that is going to get the passing work, a very talented receiver out of college. So that's my suggestion, and yeah, that's my prediction and or suggestion. Let's see here. Okay, so I skipped. Okay, here we go. Where was it? I was scrolling. The chat updated, and it's going to be tough to go find where everything was. Okay, found it. Perfect. I'm late. What did I miss? John Richardson, you didn't miss anything. We're just ripping off questions. Gary, what's up? who's going to get the most receptions on the Patriots this year, I would assume it's Julian Edelman, far and away. He's just such a good slot receiver. He's going to be open so often. Cam can't mess that up. I don't think he can. Hardman, Judy, or Ruggs. Honestly, I don't mind Mecole Hardman, but the only issue is that he typically plays 40% of the offensive snaps in his respective offense. And if he doesn't have that one big catch for 60 yards and a touchdown, he's typically not a very valuable wide receiver because he's not given that much opportunity in comparison to these other guys who are going to be the number 2 or number 1 wide receivers of their respective teams. I'd rather go for them. If I had to pick between Hardman, Ruggs, and Judy, I would probably go with Henry Ruggs right now for the Raiders. Do you think Hayden Hurst is a tight end 1? I do believe so, Caleb Newton. If you go back and you check out my video that I posted about 2 months ago, maybe, just talking about my top 12 tight ends, it's the one with Travis Kelce on the cover. You can go to the timestamp and you can find my section talking about Hayden Hurst if you're interested. Let's see here. Mark Hall says, do you think Evans or Godwin will benefit the most? Yeah, I think, or will it be tight end? Yeah, Evans and Godwin are going to benefit a lot, just mainly off of the fact that, hey, Evans and Godwin are going to have more targets because they're going to be healthier. They're not going to miss 3 or 2 games this upcoming season. So their productivity already increases just that from there as a base standpoint. On top of it, when you don't have a quarterback turning over the ball 35 times, 31 times in a single season, I'm counting the fumbles as well. You're going to have more opportunities to get down to the red zone and score. And that just continues to pile on. And then obviously the accuracy rate of Brady in comparison to Winston, everything is a culmination. It's just going to feed those 2 wide receivers and be the biggest benefactors of that for sure. But I was watching Gronk run routes the other day. He looks good. That's what I got to say. Kyle Willis says, hey, Andrew, in a full PPR league, would you draft Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp? In a full PPR league, I would probably draft Robert Woods this year. I think there's going to be a little bit of regression from Cooper Kupp as much as I love him. But those touchdown numbers were a little out of hand last year. And Robert Woods' touchdown numbers were, in the dumps. So those are probably going to switch. Or not switch. They'll kind of balance out, right? Cooper Kupp will go for 10 touchdowns back to 6. And Robert Woods will go from 3 touchdowns up to 7. And then, we got ourselves a pretty balanced team there. But I'd probably go Robert Woods. Let's see here. Greetings and salutations, my dude. What's your take on the Tampa Bay backfield? They're going to use LaShawn McCoy as the James White. They're going to try to, figure out maybe Derek Gumbawale can be that third down back, But outside of that, Keyshawn Vaughn and Ronald Jones have no interest in either of them. I think at where you could draft them, you could definitely get them in the 5th or 6th round. Especially Ronald Jones. I mean, that's the guy that's coming off the board earliest. And even then, I'm not really too interested in investing in that backfield because I don't know how much value it could truly have. They got a good offensive line, and if their offense is producing, that's great. But we got to remember, Ronald Jones couldn't beat Peyton Barber the last 2 years, and that alone kind of scares me. Thoughts on DeAndre Hopkins this year? Should be good. I mean, he's a top 5, 6 wide receiver in fantasy. Last year was a little bit of a decline in terms of his productivity because the touchdowns went down. But if Kyler Murray can find him in the end zone, I think he'll be fine. Go Big or Go Home Production says, congrats on the weight loss. Can tell a huge difference. Thank you. I appreciate that. I lost just about 90 pounds in the last couple of years. So if you go back to the earlier videos, Andrew was looking a lot thicker and not in a good way. All right, moving on. But thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, dude, you got to stop. Okay, listen, Geeks of Liberty, I appreciate it, dude. You don't got to donate this much. I'm telling you. I'll get to your question, bro. I'll get there. Don't worry about it. Okay, so while we're here, and I'm going to talk about Geeks of Liberty's question, if we could, everybody do me a favor. Click the like button today. I really do appreciate you guys hanging out here today. I'm going to probably be here until, I don't know, what is it? It's almost 7 o'clock, 6:45 right now, your PST. I'll probably be here until, we'll go for 8, maybe 8:30. Okay, that'll be the cutoff. So I'm going to be here. I'm going to answer everybody's questions. But again, thank you. I appreciate the donation. His question is, if you had both Andrews and Gronk, would you consider a 2 tight end lineup in a 10-team half PPR league? Basically starting Gronk over Gurley at the flex. It just depends on how the in-season productivity works. If Gronk is a reliable enough flex play, then sure, I'm going to put him there. But if he's a guy that every other week is disappointing me, and he's going into a bad matchup, and maybe he missed a couple of days of practice during the week. These are all the different variables that I mentioned that I just can't take into account right now. But I wouldn't mind running a double tight end lineup. I've done it before, and I can do it again. It's not a problem. I mean, last season, running Higbee as my flex was easy. It was an easy decision to make, and I did that every single week because of how good he was. Now, is Gronk going to be at that level? I'm not sure, but you hope he will be. But either way, at this point, it's not a bad choice or idea to go double tight end. You just have to kind of scale it out and see how everything pans out. Anyway, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Okay, here we go. Let's see here. Should I secure a top-tier quarterback like Prescott in the 6th, or wait till the 11th or 12th to take Wentz or Goff as my first standard quarterback? It just depends on your how you want to construct your lineup. Personally, I don't mind taking a Wentz late, or Matt Ryan late, or Drew Brees late. Those are always good picks. So I have no problem there, because then the rest of your roster is pretty much just kind of solidified. But again, it's just up to your own perspective. Scott says, Chubb or Sanders in a full PPR? I'd take Sanders over Chubb in a full PPR. Good question, though. Favorite late round quarterback, 6 point per passing touchdown? Favorite late round quarterback? If Drew Brees is considered a late round quarterback, if 9th or 8th round is what that's considered, then Drew Brees. When he came back from injury last year, he averaged 3 touchdowns and 300 passing yards a game. And in a 6 point per passing touchdown format, what is that, 12 plus 18? That's 30 points a week in fantasy. So, yeah, Drew Brees. Let's see here. Hey, Andrew, in a full PPR, would you rather have Kupp or Woods? Okay, I answered that. Thank you, Kevin. Let's see here. Hey, Andrew, full PPR league. Okay, I already did that. You guys don't have to spam. I'll get there. Okay, same question. SPFFA, what's up, dude? Andrew, what does the intro mean? I've never known what greetings, what's after, wait, what you say after greetings? Salutations? Salutations. You know what a salutation is? It's another form of greeting somebody. It doesn't matter. Just go look it up. Moving on. I traded Kupp for Kelsey. Wait, what? Kupp and Kelsey for Andrews and Godwin? W or L? Oh, Kupp and Kelsey for Andrews and Godwin. That's a good question. I kind of think it's an even trade. Yeah, I think it's an even trade. Somewhat even, yeah. Cody says, greetings, salutations, my man. What does it say? Geeks of Liberty says, I lost last season with Mahomes. His injury cost me a playoff spot. Yeah, it's crazy. There's a lot of regression at the QB1 on the following seasons. That's always a number you got to look at. A lot of quarterback value in the later rounds. All right, awesome. Let's see here. Kamara or Henry? Alfredo, I mean, it just depends on your scoring format, dude. If it's any sort of PPR, I'm going Kamara. If it's a standard, then we'll go Henry. Alpha1102 says, is it crazy to have Miles Sanders as my running back 7 in a full PPR? Nope, not crazy at all. He got 60 passes last year. Or no, he didn't catch 60 passes. I think he got 50 passes at 60 some odd targets, but he only played 52% of the snaps. Therefore, if you increase that snap count to about 70, 75%, you're going to probably see about 25% target share increase. You do the math. Good receiving running back, great PPR option. Moving on. Let's see your same. Okay, Dalvin Cook or Derrick Henry. Again, if you ask me a question about Dalvin Cook, I'm going to tell you the other guy 100% of the time, because Dalvin Cook is not at camp unless someone can prove me otherwise. Cook or Jacobs. We're going Jacobs, of course. With my 5th pick. Okay. You are super high on Jacobs this year. You drafting him over Sanders, Drake, or Mixon? Just depends on the scoring format. No, I'm not drafting him over Mixon, but I'll draft him over Drake and Sanders. Yeah, I will. Michael Reyes says, what's up? I say, yo. Talking Football says, these are running backs. Sanders, Mixon. Are those good? Interesting, man. Okay. Yeah, those are good running backs. I like Sanders and I like Mixon. So no problem there. Not one bit. All right. This thing's going to update. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to scroll to the bottom of this chat and just start chopping it up with you guys because I kind of want to stay live with it, okay? All right, here we go. So the latest questions that have come in. Here we go. You know, before I answer any questions, could we all click that like button? I think we got 36 likes on the video. We have 58 people in here. If you guys could all just do me the favor, click the like button. I really do appreciate it. Also, if you guys are looking for my 2020 fantasy football draft guide, the information is down in the description of the video. You can go check out all the information on patreon.com and all that kind of jazz if you're interested, and or you can get it separately at the website if you're interested. Thank you very much. All right, so let's see the like button. Is it going up? 40? Okay, we got, come on guys, come on. It's 58 of us. Come on, I even like my own video. Come on. Get us up. Let's go. All right. Breida or Akers? No, I'm going Akers. I'd go with the upside instead of Breida. Kyle Willis says, "Hey Andrew, you misunderstood my question. I meant, would you draft Woods and Kupp on the same team? Thank you. Would I draft them both on the same team? I don't mind it, but I don't know if that's the greatest recipe for success, but I don't mind it. I think they're both capable wide receiver 2s with upside. And if you have them both on roster, I don't really think that there's going to be many weeks in which one of them completely is just a dumpster fire and the other one steals. I mean, even if one steals all the value, if one goes for 38 and the other one goes for 0, at least you kind of split the difference and average it out. But if they both are, terrible receiving options on that specific week, then, it's going to be tough. Let's see here. 12-team half PPR, keep Miles Sanders in the 7th, Drake in the 8th. I'd rather keep Miles Sanders in the 7th. Thank you for the question. Moving on. What is the best spot to draft in a 12-team half PPR? In the top 3, you get a stud running back. The chances are another good running back falling to you very low. Okay. Back 3, you would get... Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I do agree that the best pick in a half PPR 12-team right now is the number 1 overall pick. Christian McCaffrey is so far and away better than everybody else that the advantage you get just by drafting him and then the talent that falls to you because of how much depth there is at the running back and wide receiver position, you can really construct a fantastic lineup. I mean, I've been able to put lineups together where I'm drafting Christian McCaffrey, Aaron Jones in the 2nd, Kenny Golladay in the 3rd. I mean, and then it comes back around in the 4th and 5th round. I'm able to grab like a Le'Veon Bell. Sure, I'm not too happy with him. And then on top of it, get Zach Ertz, Desean Watson, and Jamison Crowder. I mean, there's good rosters that you can put together, despite what everybody kind of thinks. I think number 1 is probably, in my opinion, the best. But again, it's all subjective. Let's see here. Scrolling down. I'm just going to let it come to me. Here we go. So Alpha 1120, okay, says thoughts on running backs. Kamara. Okay. Look, if you're going to like name 9 running backs, I'm just going to ignore the question. I can't, guys. I can't. I want it to be quick questions so we can cover everybody. I don't want to leave anybody behind. 2 QB league, which 2 quarterbacks are ideal picks? My ideal scenario in a 2 QB league is taking a quarterback in the 3rd round. A 3rd round quarterback, probably, in my opinion, if I want to grab one that I'd be happy with, I don't mind going Carson Wentz and or Josh Allen in the 3rd, and then getting another quarterback by the 5th, whether it's like a Matthew Stafford and or like a Ben Roethlisberger there. Yeah, I don't mind those. I mean, that's not an ideal situation, but it's a situation in which I get my first 2 picks are running backs, and then my 4th round pick is a wide receiver or tight end, and then we get going with 2 quarterbacks that we can solidify and not have to worry about on a weekly basis. Let's see here. Allen Robinson or Keenan Allen? Allen Robinson far and away, and it's not even close. Keenan Allen is not going to be as productive as he has been in the past, with the fact that his quarterback position is just it's inexperienced, in my opinion, just to say the least. Mac Bruce says, click the like button. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Standard League, 8 teams, 1st overall pick. I plan on getting Christian McCaffrey in the 1st, The best available wide receiver in the second. Should I grab Kittle as my third pick? Again, when you play in an 8-team league, all of your teams are going to be all-star teams. So to be honest, taking a tight end in the third isn't the most valuable thing that you could do. So theoretically, you're going 8 there, 8 back, 16, 17. Is George Kittle the 17th best player in fantasy? In a, what's the format? Where was it again? Where was the question? How did I miss this? It doesn't even say the scoring format. So I'll just try my best here. If George Kittle is not the 17th best prospect, and I do think that you could probably get Andrews in the 4th/5th. So yeah, I'd probably go with another. I'd probably go McCaffrey, best available wide receiver, another running back, and then go and get a tight end 4th and 5th. But again, you're gonna have an all-star team regardless. What's your favorite team? And then you put a little bolt. It's just any team that's in Los Angeles at this point, so Rams or Chargers. But, the Rams were here first, so I kind of gravitated to them mainly. Barkley and Ridley trade for Cooks and Adams. I mean, are you certain, Dalvin Cook's going to play again? That's the thing. If Dalvin Cook's playing, and that's the trade, I'm taking Cooks and Adams. So just to kind of put it in perspective, I would rather have Cooks and Adams over Barkley and Ridley this year if Dalvin Cook is going to play. So that's my thought process. All right, Geeks of Liberty with another donation. You're absolutely a maniac. Says, time is a factor. Take my money. LOL. Okay, DK Metcalf and Melvin Gordon for Devontae Parker and Gurley. Who wins the trade? Oh, wow. That is a very good question. To be honest, I kind of want to say so Devontae Parker should be good, but if he's as good as he was last year, that's going to be a pretty tough task for him to accomplish. He was actually ridiculous last year. DK Metcalf will get better. Melvin Gordon's going to probably dominate all the runs there. All right, so if it's me and you're asking Andrew, which team would you rather have? Would you rather have Gurley or Parker, Metcalf or Gordon? At this moment in time, oh, wow. If I had to pick the two, this is actually a tough-ass question. Maybe it's not for you guys, but for me, I see the upside of what Metcalf is capable this season, and he kind of is like a Devontae Parker to an extent. So it ends up being Melvin Gordon or Gurley, which in my rankings are pretty much neck and neck. Yeah, I'll probably go Metcalf and Gordon this year. I'm thinking Gurley's, little knee injury, being significantly hobbled at this moment in time is something that I don't really want to deal with in comparison to Melvin Gordon, who was actually looking pretty good even though he missed the first 4 games this season last year. Came back and cleaned up house. Thank you again for the donation. I appreciate it. Late tight ends, Fant or Jonnu Smith. I'd rather have Fant, but I could see the perspective of why you would go for a Jonnu Smith. He's a good tight end as well. Someone, who is this? Mark Hall says only 48 likes. We can make it better. I agree. There's 65 of us in here. If we can increase that number to however many people we have in here, I would greatly appreciate it. It does make a huge difference, guys. So if we can get that like button up, just got to click it. Doesn't hurt. Even if you click the dislike button, doesn't matter. The way that YouTube analytics works is that no matter what you click, as long as you click something, helps the channel. So, I mean, honestly. Let's see here. Should I start my draft by drafting 3 RBs in a full PPR or RB wide receiver? Again, those kind of questions are too broad. It's just there's too much. There's too many variables to take into account to say, hey, do I definitively start RB, or go with a wide receiver in the third? I honestly think that you should go into the draft knowing the players you want, understanding how you rank them personally, but you should always be able to adapt and draft the best available pick on a roundly basis and just be able to continuously adapt throughout the draft. I don't think that you should go in and 100% say, I'm committing to this and I'm only doing this, done. So it's kind of hard to give you a definitive answer there. Should I trade Smith-Schuster for more? You can if you want. I don't think it's a terrible idea. I think they're both great wide receivers. It's just a lot of people are sleeping on the fact that Juju didn't have a good quarterback last year and was hurt for a majority of last year. Last time we saw him, I mean, he had more targets than Antonio Brown in 2018, and he was a fantastic top 12 wide receiver with a boatload of red zone targets, which are probably going to be in line there this year. Will Cordero Patterson taking snaps at running back offend David? No. Cordero Patterson taking snaps at running back, even when he did it in New England in 2018, it didn't really hurt James White's production there. James White was still the number 9 RB in a half PPR in 2018. Shout out to the homie Geeks of Liberty. Yes, 100%. Thank you, John Richardson. Yeah, he's coming in hot, dude. He's coming in within those donations. I really do appreciate it. Alpha says, I saw an injury report about George Kittle. It stated that players that dislocate their shoulders and don't have surgery have a 45 to 55% chance of redislocation. Yeah, I mean, I've heard that as well. I know friends that consistently dislocate their shoulder. So it's just not something that's great. I mean, that's why he has the wrap on it, right? That you can see it underneath his pads. He always has it, so he doesn't pop it out. Let's see here. What do we got? Why are you out on James Conner? The RBs around his ADP have very similar risks, but he seems to have more upside. I mean, look, it's just all subjective opinion, right? I would rather not have a running back that is going to potentially miss 4 games. And then when I look at the backfield in comparison to these other teams, right? So if Leonard Fournette goes down with an injury, who's taking his job? Chris Thompson? I don't think so. If David Johnson goes down with injury, Duke Johnson's not taking his job. If Gurley goes down with an injury, Brian Hill is not taking his job. Neither is Ito Smith. But if in fact we see ourselves with James Conner getting injured, you have Jalen Samuels, you have Benny Snell Jr., and you have Anthony McFarland, who they just drafted, who in my opinion are just as talented as him. James Conner's a good running back, but they've got a lot of talent in that backfield, and I don't think Pittsburgh's all about, we're going to for sure commit to this one running back, and he has the touches no matter what, even if he's injured. Next man up and the best guy that allows them to win games is going to be the one who starts, and that's where I find my disconnect with James Conner, because if he gets hurt, we're going to have problems. It's just, I don't know, it's tough. Jimmy says, full PPR. Who would you like better, Chris Carson or Fournette? In my opinion, right now, it's Chris Carson. But I could make the argument for Fournette, but I'd rather have Chris Carson. More opportunity in terms of red zone touches, on top of the fact that he still gets as much work in the passing game. And Seattle Seahawks aren't as, a volatile offense in which the game script gets shifted and Leonard Fournette disappears because something crazy happens and they're only passing deep because they're down 35 or something of that nature. Let's see here. Kevin Worf says, better 4th or 5th round pick, Woods or Montgomery, Connor or Melvin, Connor/Melvin, or Chark/McLaurin. I'd rather have Woods over Montgomery, but again, these are all questions that require the rest of your roster. If you went 4 running backs in the first 4 rounds, of course, going wide receiver as your 5th round pick is the better option. But in terms of who I'm more trusting of, I'd rather have Melvin Gordon and DJ Chark over Connor and McLaurin, even though you've put them in clumps. Anyway, I'm just going to keep moving on. Hunter Henry or Darren Waller? I'd rather have Darren Waller this year. Kyler Murray or Russell Wilson? To be honest, I think Kyler Murray has more upside, but Russell Wilson has just been too consistent. 31 plus passing touchdowns 4 out of the last 5 seasons, something that I can't pass up on. It says, hey, Andrew, your thoughts on Joe Mixon? Also, is Gardner or Locke a better late round? Yeah, I think both these guys are great late round quarterback picks. Drew Lock and Gardner Minshew can both get it done. Easily can surpass 20 plus touchdowns and easily could be top 20, passing quarterbacks. But it's just a matter of, do they have the capabilities of jumping into the top 15 conversation to where they're actually actively used? I think there's going to be stretches of time next year or this upcoming season where you can rely upon these guys for a specific amount of time, but I don't think you can do that for the whole season. But I could be wrong. Again, they could come out and be this year's Lamar Jackson or just take the league by storm. You never know. Opinion on Melvin Gordon as an RB2. I don't mind him as an RB2, but you just have to understand what you're getting yourself into. You're investing in a running back that has had injury history, that is going to be splitting the backfield with Royce Freeman and Phillip Lindsay. Sure, he's a great receiving back, has the capabilities of doing that. He's going to probably have the goal line work. But just as an RB2, you better have some great wide receivers or tight ends that are going to also help out, because Melvin Gordon as an RB2, you're going to have to handcuff him. It's kind of tough, Samuel. Robert Barrow says, I just accepted a trade in my league. Got the 4th and 5th for a 3rd. I love them mid-tier wide receivers, as do I. To go along with my team as an RB1, perfect. I have a 5th pick in my team, 10 full PPR, okay? 10 team full PPR. What are your thoughts on going Kamara, Sanders, and DJ Moore in the first 3 picks? Perfectly fine with it. I liked it a lot. Anytime you get 2 of the top 12 running backs and you get a top 12 wide receiver with your first 3 picks, I think you're always in line for some success. If you go anywhere outside of that, I mean, maybe you invest in a top 2 tight end. I'm perfectly fine there, but outside of that, you should be good to go. Just the trade. Okay, let's see here. Zach Ertz or Waller? Zach Ertz. I think Waller's great. I think his targets are probably going to decrease considering how much more talent is in that Raiders offense. And then now that the Philadelphia Eagles actually have more receivers in the field, they're not going to double cover Zach Ertz any longer, and you'll actually have him running open in the middle of the field, and I think he should be better this year. So yeah, I'm going Ertz over Waller this year, regardless of scoring format. Joey Reed says, yo, what's up, dude? How's it going? Geeks of Liberty. Okay, let's see here. I'll get to that in a second. Alpha says, would you rather have Dak in the 6th or Matt Ryan in the 11th? Matt Ryan is crazy good late. Yeah, I think I'd rather have the late quarterback, regardless of, I mean, it could be Matt Ryan, it could be another guy, but yeah, Matt Ryan is still a fantastic quarterback. Should probably improve this year in comparison to last year. A little too many turnovers last year. And he also missed the game. See here. So, okay. E-Rock says, are you drafting Devontae Parker at his current ADP with Hearns and Wilson opting out? Yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, at his current ADP, everything should go in the right direction. Preston Williams is still there. It's ultimately going to be a matter of what Devontae Parker are we going to see, because Devontae Parker was nobody for the first 3 years of his career because he just, he wasn't given the ample opportunity. If they, cut him short this year, he's only getting 7 targets a game, and they're not red zone targets or end zone targets. It'll be a little bit harder again. The amount of work that he got late in that season, it was actually just a little crazy in comparison. Let me go ahead and see here. In a half PPR scoring format last year, after week 4, so the first 3 weeks were obviously a mess, but after week 4, the double-digit touch, he had a week for what? A 31-point week against Philadelphia, 21-point week against the New York Giants, 19, 17, 17. He had some incredible games. He should be a good wide receiver, but I don't know if he can actually sustain that kind of a season. If he does, good on him, dude. He earns that 4-year, $40-something million contract. Thoughts on Henry Ruggs? Should be a good receiver. I'm just hearing a lot about the Raiders wide receivers kind of being a different core of receivers every day. Honestly, there's new names that are always thrown out as this guy's now the new starter, or this guy's the new starter, or this guy's getting more reps, or this guy's not allowed to play in the slot anymore. It's just a mess. The thing that sucks about 2020, besides everything that's gone on, but in terms of fantasy football, is that we're not going to actually have a preseason. So we won't get an actual clear indication of, hey, is this guy truly the starting wide receiver? And we won't see the number one's dress. We won't see how they perform. We won't get the dress rehearsal. We'll just have to kind of keep our ear to the ground and hear any rumblings or rumors that are taking place and kind of have to react with that. And that's an unfortunate reality, but that's just the current approach to this upcoming season. It's going to be a lot of rough football, so we're just going to have to see how everything turns out. Thoughts on Preston Williams? Yeah, Preston Williams is going to be a guy that I don't even know if he'll be ready for week 1, but if he is, should be a great wide receiver too for the Miami Dolphins over there. Yeah, he should be pretty good. Will definitely hurt things value, because I think someone was asking about Allen Hurns and Albert Wilson dropping out. Those guys really weren't pretty big value players last year in terms of fantasy. Again, Albert Wilson's a track star, and Alan Hearns hasn't really produced in quite some time now. And then he's had his injury history. So to be honest, I don't really see those guys as like huge threats. I think Preston Williams is a huge threat, or Gesicki, or the quarterback position, depending on who that ends up becoming. Thoughts on Buffalo's offense this season? Diggs, John Brown are the only guys getting targets. No, I don't think that's the case. I think Cole Beasley can still get targets in that offense. I think Devin Singletary is in line for a bunch of targets as the receiving back for this offense. So, yeah, I think they should be good to go. But if, in fact, John Brown and Stephon Diggs are kind of splitting those targets, and we're not going to see a clear number one wide receiver, we could have a problem there. Because I do think that there's only enough room for one top 24 wide receiver from that team. And I think it hopefully will be Diggs. But if it ends up being a split between the two, then it could be rough. John Richardson says Henry Ruggs equals 2020 Tyreek Hill. I mean, listen. I don't know if Derek Carr has the arm for that kind of a projection. But, you never know. Let's see here. What do you think about taking Michael Thomas second overall in a full PPR? I couldn't do it. Now, I mean, I've seen people do it, and I understand the thought process, but you have to also understand that Michael Thomas is not going to have a identical year as last year. If you're drafting him on what he produced last season, then sure. If you're going to get 100%, prediction that, hey, he's going to produce the exact number, 1,700 receiving yards, 149 receptions, 9 receiving touchdowns. If you can guarantee that production once again, sure, you can take him in the second overall pick in a full PPR. But if he doesn't produce those numbers, you're definitely going to have a regression, a slide, and that slide will probably be met up with Saquon or Zeke producing more than he does. And if that actually takes place, then, it's not a great pick. But again, you have to understand that there's a reason why Marvin Harrison held the record for the most receptions in NFL history for 18 years. It's because those kind of records don't happen every year. Michael Thomas will not come close to those reception count. Sure, the targets might still be there, but there's more mouths to feed. Alvin Kamara is going to be fully healthy. Jared Cook's in his second year in the system. Emmanuel Sanders joins the team. There's a lot more people that might want to vie for some targets within said offense. But again, Michael Thomas is unstoppable, but investing that heavily on a guy that could regress, could be a risk. Thoughts on Watkins? What do you think about Sammy Watkins? Sammy Watkins, if he's my 5th or 6th wide receiver on roster, I'm okay with that. Outside of that, I'm not really too interested. Again, we haven't really seen him produce too much. Like last season when Tyreek Hill went down, theoretically, Sammy Watkins was the number one, and he did nothing with the opportunity. Maybe with Tyreek Hill on the other side of the field, Sammy Watkins could be a little bit better this year, which hopefully is the case, and we could see. But again, I only feel like the ball is going to go around so often to him. The other guys are just so dominant. It's tough. But yeah, I don't mind him as like my 5th or 6th wide receiver on roster. Like move him in on a good matchup or when someone's on a bye week. Let's see. How do you feel about Desean Watson this fantasy season? He's my QB number 1, and I'm a bit nervous about it. Yeah, you should be nervous about it. I mean, do you mean like you drafted him number 1, or like as in, is he your starting QB, or is he your QB 1 in terms of your rankings? But if he's your starting quarterback, you shouldn't be worried about it. Like I don't think it's a problem. Just as long as you don't anticipate him doing too much. Like at worst, he's probably a top 7 quarterback. But he's not going to be the number 1 quarterback because losing Hopkins does make a difference. But he still has guys that are going to catch the ball. It's a team effort. That's how football works. So, yeah, you shouldn't be too worried about it. I think you'll be fine. Let's see here. Tony Ocho says, if you had the 7th pick, who would you pick, Devontae Adams or Clyde Edwards-Helaire? It depends about what kind of scoring format we're talking here. Honestly, I'm a guy that likes to go running back in the first round. I think wide receivers are great. I think Michael Thomas and Devontae Parker and Tyreek Hill, they're all great wide receivers. But if I'm going to invest in a guy that is undoubtedly going to be able to produce for me on a weekly basis with the upside of all those touchdowns, I don't mind it being Devontae Adams. I'm just like, I don't know. 7th pick in the second round, maybe you can get Miles Sanders. So would you rather have double RB or wide receiver running back combo? I mean, honestly, I don't mind either of the two. I just probably go running back. Yeah, I'd probably go running back. Tyler Boyd or Devontae Parker, full PPR? Devontae Parker. Tyler Boyd's great, but I don't think Tyler Boyd's that good. I mean, I do expect AJ Green to cut into his production. I expect John Ross, when healthy, to cut into his production. And there's a reason why they drafted T. Higgins. They got a lot of guys on this roster that can catch the ball. Joe Mixon should get more work in the passing game. Tyler Boyd's not going to be, the number one of that team any longer. I don't think that's going to be the case. If he ends up being, that'd be great. But I'd rather have Devontae Parker over him. But let's see here. Justin Hart says, what about Deon Cain for the Colts? Late round sleeper. Yeah, I honestly think Paris Campbell also. I think because of T.Y. Hilton's injury. You know what T.Y. Hilton's actual real name is? His first name is Eugene. Just putting that. Thank you for the donation, Santiago. I'm going to get to that in a second. Sorry about that. With T.Y. Hilton injured, there's so much opportunity for Michael Pittman Jr. To step up, or Paris Campbell to step up, Deon Cain step up. Zach Pascal's still there. Marcus Johnson's still there. There's a lot of guys that could definitely vie for the targets from a guy from what's his name, Phillip Rivers. But all in all, yeah, he's a late rounder, but I don't know if I'm willing to spend anything on him. Okay, Santiago with the donation. Thank you very much, sir. I really do appreciate it. Says Dynasty PPR, keeping Henry in my second, Drake in my fourth, with the first round, 5th pick, Cook, Kamara, Thomas, or Adams. Okay, cool. I think, in my opinion, I think Cook is going to be there. I don't know what your other league mates are keeping, but let's just assume that it's not going to be any of the top guys. So if all 4 of these guys are available when it gets to you, who am I taking? I don't mind the idea of taking Alvin Kamara, as your number 1 overall pick in your first round here. But because going wide receiver is not a bad option either, because you already have 2 solidified running backs. I think I go Kamara over Thomas. Like, if it's me and I'm playing in a full PPR and I don't have any keepers and I don't have to, like, let's say, for example, you never told me you had Henry or Drake, I would tell you to take Alvin Kamara over Michael Thomas this year. So hopefully that kind of gave you some perspective on my thought process. But because you already have 2 established running backs, I could see the conversation where you would take a number 1 pick as your wide receiver so that you don't have to really address that in the third round. In the third round, you can take another running back or maybe a wide receiver there. But I would personally go with Kamara over the rest of the group at this moment in time in a full PPR. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Let's see here. Is David Montgomery a good 4th running back in a 10-team PPR? I think you asked this question in the comment section. I'm pretty sure I said yeah, Alpha, but yeah, I'll answer it again. He's a good 4th running back. Perfectly fine. Richard Garcia says, who contributes more to a number 2 wide receiver? Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings or Henry Ruggs of the Las Vegas Raiders? It's a good question. I think there's going to be more opportunity. I think Ruggs is the better receiver. We know that. That's for certain. But who's going to have... I could see Justin Jefferson being a sneaky play and where he ends up being great. But I think Ruggs is... I would rather have Ruggs. I put my money on Ruggs, and I'd probably end up seeing him get drafted before I even considered taking him because his ADP might rise a little too high. And in that case, I'd go for Justin Jefferson. But... I personally would put my money on Ruggs to be the better of the 2 this year. What do you think about Samuels as he is currently injured? Do you think... What was this? How do you think, when he comes back? Samuels as in what? Jalen Samuels? Listen, we're not worried about backup running backs being injured right now. I don't think that's the case. I don't think we have to worry about that for quite some time. Mr. PZ44 says, I'm going RB wide receiver. Sounds legit, question mark? Absolutely not. That's the worst strategy I could have ever heard. Never go 4 running backs in a row, people. It's not a great idea. I'm telling you. When you go 4 running backs in a row, okay, you're never going to be able to start that 4th one on a consistent basis. You have 3 starting slots that you can theoretically fill your running backs in. You got your 2 running back slots, Then you got your flex. If you take that 4th round pick and you make it a running back, like a David Montgomery, like we've been talking about, he will sit on your bench for nearly 90% of the season, unless one of your other running backs are something that's injury prone or volatile. And instead of drafting a guy like, in the 4th round, instead of drafting a potential Robert Woods who could start every single week on your team, or a Calvin Ridley who could start every single week on your team, you invested in a 4th round running back who's going to sit on your bench. In my opinion, I cannot live with that. It does not sound legit for me. I don't mean to dump on you, but I'm just telling you my opinion. So anyway, and it really, I'm trying to teach you rather than, so don't take it the wrong way. Favorite late round tight end breakout? Yeah, it's either Fant or Hawkinson as of right now. Certainly. You like Claypool? Claypool for the Pittsburgh Steelers is not a bad option. But to be honest, there's just a lot of competition ahead of him. Unless Deontay Johnson or, James Washington go down with some sort of injury, I end up seeing, there's a possibility that he could make some noise, but there's a lot of competition ahead of him with a lot more experience at this moment in time. I doubt he, makes any dents in the offense right out the gate. So unless you're playing in the dynasty, just really not looking forward into it. Okay. Is Marquise Brown the number 1 for the Ravens? Theoretically, he's the number 1 wide receiver, but he's not the number 1 receiving option. That's Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is going to still dominate in terms of targets, receptions, all that noise. He's going to clean that out. Aaron says, Andrew, mock drafting from the from what spot? From the 1 spot. After Christian McCaffrey, I'm left with Leonard Fournette. What are you at? Melvin Gordon, Chris Carson. Would you take any of those as your RB2? Yeah, I don't mind having any of those as my RB2 into PPR, but it just depends. I mean, I personally would rather have Chris Carson over the other 2 at this moment in time going into the season. So yeah, that's my thought process. But I honestly do think that in the 2nd round, 2nd/3rd round, if those are the only running backs still available, then that means that a lot of people passed on wide receivers. So make sure that, when you take Christian McCaffrey in the 2nd and 3rd round are pulling up, make sure you at least draft a wide receiver, please. Let's see here. Okay, we had a donation. Check that out. Alan, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let's see here. Thoughts on Joe Burrow and AJ Green? Thank you. All right, so AJ Green's an interesting prospect. AJ Green, if he's healthy and plays a full 16-game season, regardless of the quarterback, he's going to be a top 15 guy. Now, if Joe Burrow ends up coming in and bringing a little bit of that LSU energy and actually dominating to a decent level, I don't think Joe Burrow is going to come out and set the league on fire. There's too many competitive games he has to play in. I think week 1 is against the Chargers. Chargers secondary is a good secondary. They've got a good defensive line. They're going to send pressure at him. It's going to be the true test. But you don't need Joe Burrow to be good from weeks 1 through 6. You need Joe Burrow to figure it out by the midway point of the season, so that if in fact you pick him up off the waiver and he's ready to fill in as that 1 week start on like week 9 or 8 due to one of your starting quarterbacks having a bye week, then you could put him in and kind of match it up with a pretty good decent matchup in that scenario. But in terms of AJ Green, at his ADP, I don't like where he's getting taken. I think he's too much of a risk. I've drafted AJ Green so many times in the last couple of years, and he screwed me over so many damn times. It's just not worth it after a while, to be honest. But I could see the argument as to why you would draft him. I don't ignore it. If he's going late in the draft and you can get great value out of him, I say why not. All right, so while we're at this point, and again, I do really appreciate you guys sending in donations. I will get to everybody's questions. We'll be here until 8 o'clock-ish. We have 74 people here. Maybe 8:30, we'll see. But if we can go ahead and get that like button hit and try to match the number, I really do appreciate it. Also, a couple words from our sponsor. My 2020 Fantasy Football Draft Guide is now available. If you guys want more information regarding that, there is a video on the channel just talking about everything that's inside of it. I would suggest you go watch that. Or that video is also on my Patreon, so you can go check that out. And kind of everything that I'm offering outside of the channel and all the different videos that I create, the rankings and stuff like that during the season, my draft kit, all of that can be found on Patreon. So I appreciate you guys spending your time here today. If you're interested, that is where you can find everything. So let's see here. How do you value quarterbacks in a 2 QB league? Which round pick? I would 100% suggest go watching my my Superflex quarterback strategy draft video that I produced, like 2-3 weeks ago. I put it out 2-3 weeks ago. It has Russell Wilson on the cover. Go check it out. It kind of gives you a little bit of a perspective, because honestly, I could break down, there's like 6 different strategies going about it, and talking about them right now would just be repeating myself. So go check that out, and hopefully it kind of answers your question. All right, so what is this? TB Court Vision says, need help deciding who to keep. I get 2 keepers. Okay, well, just put your team down below, and I'll try to help you out. But you just got to make sure you tell me the scoring format. You got to tell me what round you'd have to keep them in. There's a lot of information regarding that kind of stuff, right? So make sure you don't skip out on any variables in that sense. All right, let's see here. Let me scroll down to the bottom here, see what you guys are doing. All right, so we have here, E-Rock says, do you have any IR spots on your leagues? What's the max IR spots you recommend? All right, that's a great question, and I think you guys should all, whether or not you are the, I guess, the commissioner of your fantasy league, you should definitely have at least 2 IR spots this season. Typically, I always have 1 IR spot, because if, for example, a player gets injured and is going to miss 4 weeks, I don't think I should be penalized by having only 6 bench spots and me not being able to replace him, because I don't want to drop a wide receiver or a tight end that I can start on a weekly basis. So I always like to have at least 1 IR spot. Because of COVID, all that kind of jazz, you should at least have 2 IR spots this year, because there is the IR COVID list that it exists right now that players are continuously put on. So if in fact you're going to have an opportunity to have a player potentially get sick or something of that nature happens, I would suggest you for sure have at least 2 IR spots. Let's see here. Too Quick Basketball says, Sanders or Drake? In a standard league, I'd rather have Miles Sanders at this moment in time. I just trust the Eagles offense a little bit more in terms of the running game in comparison to what Cliff Kingsbury wants to do in Arizona. They're a pass-heavy offense. They always want to go 4 wide, at least 3 wide receiver sets, 11 personnel. Doesn't really breed too much success in the running game. I understand Drake has some couple big breakout games late in the season last year. But again, I'd probably rather just go with Sanders this year. Constantino Gonzalez says, I miss, what is it? Oh my God, that's shameless, dude. I miss the stained sheets in the back. Yeah, look, we used to have a background where was my room. After, a couple of years here, we got to change it up. We got to change up the background. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thoughts on Cam Newton as my quarterback 2 in the league? Perfect. He has good upside, and to be honest, I think he's a great pick overall. He's going to be a lot better than people anticipate. DeAndre Hopkins or Thielen as your 2 wide receivers in a full PPR. What do you think? Perfectly fine with that. DeAndre Hopkins, top 6 guy. Adam Thielen has the potential of being a top 12 guy this year, considering he's the only wide receiver that has a lot of experience on that Vikings roster at this moment in time. So perfectly fine there. So again, he was injured last season. If you just go look what he was able to produce in the playoffs, that's the Adam Thielen that we anticipate every single week. So he'll definitely be able to live up to that. Are you concerned about David Johnson, or do you expect to bounce back? I posted a video a couple days back talking about David Johnson, his potential this upcoming season. One of the stats that I'll just kind of throw at you in terms of what's going on. David Johnson, unfortunately, is associated with the team now that targets the running back position in the passing game, the 5th least amount amongst all teams in the National Football League in the past 2 years. So they do not like to target running backs in the passing game. That's something that they have not done, and I don't think they're going to continue to do or try to increase upon. So that's just the issue with him at this moment in time. Apple Juice sends in a donation, says, thanks, man. Keep up the good work. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Let's see here, and let me just go check something out. What are we at here? Again, listen, I appreciate you guys sending in donations. You literally could take those donations and go buy my draft guide. I mean, it's that simple. You could get content out of it. You don't even just have to get questions answered. I mean, if you like any of the content I do produce on this channel, Dude, I'm telling you, it's worth it. But hey, teach their own. I'm not gonna force you. I'm not gonna badger you. Damon Clayton, a $2 donation, really do appreciate it. Says thoughts on the Browns' new coach. Okay, dude. To be honest, I don't know if that's a legit question. If you actually want me to talk about Kevin Stefanski, I will. But we're not talking about that. We're not doing that. You can't even get me to say it, dude. Come on. How gullible do you think I am? Come on. Let's see here. Is Tyler Lockett a good wide receiver too in a full PPR? Yes. Tyler Lockett's been fantastic the last 2 years. He'll continue to be a great wide receiver because he has touchdown upside, considering how many touchdowns Russell Wilson throws a year, 31 plus for the last 5 seasons. And with Metcalf pulling all the pressure outside, Lockett gets to either be on the opposite side against the second best corner of every defense, or he sits in the slot position in which he's in mismatches and just kind of tears apart linebackers and safeties. So, yeah, he's good. Matthew says, in a keeper league, should I keep Eckler in the 7th, Kenyon Drake in the 7th round? What is your scoring for, Matt? If it's a full PPR, I would consider going Eckler. If it's a half PPR, I don't mind going Kenyon Drake. But in terms of who I think is going to be more successful in the immediate future, I think it's going to be Eckler, but I could be biased. I don't know. I'm an LA guy. How do you think the Colts backfield will shake out? I think Jonathan Taylor is going to win that job. It's just how long it takes. It truly could take a long time, but let's just think about this logically. They drafted Jonathan Taylor for a reason. They're not bringing him in to be a backup. He's going to be the running back of the future there. Marlon Mack is going into his last year of his contract. They don't want to repay him. That's how the NFL's culture has worked. We do not want to pay running backs their second contract. Every NFL player is trying to get to their second contract. Marlon Mack will not be upped for a second contract in Indianapolis unless he's going to play that backup role. Jonathan Taylor will win the job, but it's just a matter of when. So we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe training camp kind of gets us those answers. We're just going to have to, again, stay patient and wait until everything kind of pans out. All right, let's see here. Let me go ahead and check something out. We're at 73 likes. I do appreciate it, guys. Again, that makes a huge difference here on the channel. Thank you very much. It really allows us to get more exposure. Again, there's 70 some odd of you guys in here. Because of those like buttons, it will continue to suggest it for other people so they can find more content of mine. So thank you again. I really do appreciate it. Okay. Let's see if we can get through a couple more of these questions. Constantino says, just messing with you, bro. Have you tested positive yet? What kind of question is that, bro? That's got to be even more cap of a question. You're capping out here. Come on. All right. And I hope none of you guys do. No. And I hope that on nobody. Seriously, it's just not a great reality. Kevin says, assuming that you go, okay, dude, Kevin, we're gonna have to establish this one way or another. All right. Enough with this RB running back wide receiver. Like, okay, I'm gonna read your question. Let's see if we've changed our mind here. Okay. Assuming I go RB wide receiver with my first picks in a 2 wide receiver, 2 flex league, half PPR. All right, cool. I like that you've established everything. Great, perfect. Would you grab the 3rd RB in Gordon or a wide receiver 2 like OBJ, AJ Brown, or Woods? I'd rather go with one of those wide receivers. At this moment in time, I'd rather go with one of those wide receivers over Gordon. Yes. E-Rock says, if you're in a 2-player keeper league, okay, do you move up ADP's 2 rounds, i.e. 5th round being drafted in the 3rd? I think every keeper league kind of differs in their own way. I've seen keeper leagues move up 3 rounds a season. I've seen keeper leagues only move up 1 round a season. I've seen keeper leagues in which you can keep them in the exact same round that you drafted them in, but you can only keep them 2 or 3 years in a row. There's a bunch of different things. The keeper league I would prefer is that wherever you were drafted the year before, let's say they were a 9th pick, they got to move up 3 whole rounds. So you drafted them in the 9th last year, they got to be a 6th round keeper this year. You drafted them in the 4th this past season, they've got to be a 1st this upcoming season. So that's how I personally approach it. But outside of that, it's just to each their own. You gotta have to figure it out with your league mates and how you guys are all comfortable with it. Josh Jacobs or Clyde Edwards-Helaire, says Damon Clayton. To be honest, it depends on the scoring format. Standard is a Josh Jacobs format in itself because he doesn't really catch the ball often. When we get in the half PPR, I could understand both conversations and make an argument for both outcomes. But in a full PPR, I'm going to go with Clyde Edwards at this moment in time. I know Josh Jacobs the other day in an interview said something of the extent where he wants to catch 60 balls this year. If he can do that, then he'll be better than Clyde Edwards. But I don't know if they're going to feed him the ball 60 times. I mean, if you're going to catch the ball 60 times, that means you're going to have at least 80 targets. And that's even a shoddy catch rate, but I would assume that that's how many targets he's going to have to require. There's a lot of mouths to feed in Las Vegas this year. Clyde is a steal in the second in a full PPR. I 100% agree. Let's see here. Another donation. Thank you very much, Santiago. Says, thoughts on Daniel Jones as a PPR starter. Yeah, I did a video a couple weeks back talking about quarterback sleepers. Daniel Jones, once he was actually granted the starting position of the New York Giants last season, I think it was week 3 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go ahead and let's find this number. Yeah, from weeks 3 through 17 of last season, Mr. Daniel Jones, where are you? Let me go ahead and F3 function this. Maybe it wasn't week 3. Let's go ahead and see here. Daniel Jones. When did his season start last year? He played a total of 13 games, but yeah, week 1 was not really a game. Yeah, it was week 3. So yeah, from weeks 3 through 17, did he play? Oh no, look, okay, so that's the difference. Daniel Jones missed time last year. This is what I'm forgetting. He missed 2 games against the Dolphins and against the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken. So he honestly only played like from weeks 3 through 14. And in that, where was he at? He was he was almost a top 12 quarterback. He's not a bad quarterback, but to be honest, if you're going to invest in him, you just have to hope that everybody around him stays healthy. Because if in fact Evan Ingram's healthy, Sterling Shepard's healthy, Slayton's healthy, Saquon's healthy, they're all capable wide receivers, and they're going to make him a better quarterback overall. So I don't mind him at all. But as a starter, I really do feel like you can pair him with another lower valued guy and just be able to switch on a weekly basis based on matchup. You can literally grab Matthew Stafford or Ryan Tannehill or Ben Roethlisberger or Cam Newton really late in your draft, pair him with Daniel Jones, have those 2 quarterbacks, and just play matchups. So I don't mind that. Sorry if it took me a while to get to that question, by the way. Let's see here. Richard Garcia, I went 4 rounds straight RBs and got Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Drake, and Montgomery. And with my 5th pick, got... Wait, what? With your 5th round pick, you got Allen Robinson. Just got to... Okay, you just got to know who you're drafting with. Exactly. Look, that's the thing about... But okay, so here's one of 2 things. I honestly think that you could have just not even gone Montgomery there. I understand the upside of Montgomery, but you could have even taken another wide receiver there and then already had, your first 5 picks be incredible because Allen Robinson would have been your wide receiver 2 in this scenario while Montgomery sits on your bench every week. This is the kind of conversation I have. But regardless, it's a good way to start. John Richardson says Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a starting running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. I agree. Thank you for making the statement. But is somebody else opposing that idea? Because he is a starting running back. You can just go watch any sort of workouts that they had at camp so far in the first couple weeks. He's the starting running back. He's getting all the reps. Caden Drag says, I traded some draft picks and now I'm picking at 3, 18, 20, and 23. Looking at taking 2 RBs. Do you think Kelsey is a good pick at 20? Yeah, I do. I think Kelsey is a good pick at 20. Yep. It's a good selection, to be honest, overall. So if you can get him there, I don't mind it. Regardless of the scoring format, to be honest. All right. Jorge Hernandez says 12-team keeper league, keeping Henry and Eckler. All right, those are 2 good picks. Who do you pick out of Kelsey, Melvin Gordon, Marlon Mack, James Conner, Cooper Kupp, or Cortland Sutton? If you can keep Travis Kelsey, that's great. If he's too expensive of a keeper option, Jorge, I would potentially then say, let's go Amari Cooper. Or is that Cooper? Yeah, Amari Cooper, yeah. So that's what I would suggest. Either Kelsey, unless he's too expensive. Otherwise, you go Amari Cooper as the fallback plan. But yeah, you want to keep Travis Kelsey. That would be great. With Henry, Eckler, Kelsey, that's a great way to start a season. I would love that as my first 3 round picks of a normal draft. Are you going a top 12 defense video? Are you going to a, yeah, okay, so that's a little bit of chopped up English, but no problem. Am I going to make a top 12 defense video? I'll make a video talking about how I approach defenses, but nothing about ranking them, because to be honest, it is really difficult to rank a defense prior to the season. Again, last year, the 49ers defense were nobody, and all of a sudden they became the best defense in fantasy. So I'll talk about my strategies and like that kind of thought process, but outside that, we should be fine. Nick says, what percentage is there that AJ Green turns out to be a good draft pick? I tend to ignore old injured players, but I'm hearing more people be on him. Yeah, look, again, it just depends on where you draft him. If you are drafting him to be your number 2 wide receiver and he has to produce on a weekly basis, then you better hope that you at least have some sort of talent that you drafted late in your draft that can at least fill in if in fact he gets injured. Otherwise, again, if AJ Green plays a full 16-game season, he can easily be a top 15 wide receiver in fantasy. Joe Burrow is better than an Andy Dalton at this moment in time, so getting that sort of talent makes it easy. Do you think OBJ is worth his current ADP? I think OBJ is going to be better than he was last year, but is he currently worth his ADP? I don't think. Okay, so let's imagine. I think he's going to produce numbers very similar to last year, just a little bit better. Baker Mayfield last year was horrible. If we get a similar Baker Mayfield, then obviously we don't want to draft OBJ. But you're drafting OBJ hoping that the entire offense kind of has a turnaround. Freddie Kitchens was pretty much the cancer for that team. You bring in a new offensive coordinator, you bring in a better offensive line, you have more experience with Baker. Hopefully, we're going to see a little bit of a transition here where Baker's going to at least have some better performances in 2020. If all goes well, OBJ can potentially be the upside of a... look, I think worst case scenario, he's a top 18 guy. I think best case scenario, he's number 14. I don't really think in this kind of a built offense where you're going to want to heavily run the ball with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb and use those tight ends as much as they do, I don't think it's possible to potentially see OBJ jump into that wide receiver 1 conversation. I don't mind where he's being drafted at. You just have to understand what you're going to end up seeing. It's pretty much like what stats did Stephon Diggs produce last year. Those kind of numbers are what you're typically going to see from OBJ this upcoming season. Over 1,000 yards, 6-7 touchdowns, over maybe 80 catches. Not a bad season at all. Maybe less touchdowns, maybe even 6. But he's not going to have crazy stat numbers in which he's really breaking the ceiling off of what we've potentially seen him do. Even last year, his targets per game were really low in comparison to what he was getting in New York. In New York, he was getting about 10 targets a game. He's never going to see anything like that in in Cleveland. So it's tough. Sorry about me going on that rant there, but it's not really a rant. You know what I mean? Let's say I grab Allen Robinson and Adam Thielen as my wide receiver 1. Who do you pick as your wide receiver 2? OBJ, Woods, AJ Brown, or Ridley? I'd rather have Woods, AJ Brown, and Ridley over to OBJ. So let's get that stated. If I had to pick between Woods, Ridley, and AJ Brown, I'd probably go. I might go in the. I personally like Woods over Brown and Ridley. So I go Woods number 1. Between AJ Brown and Ridley, AJ Brown was good last year, but he doesn't get too many targets. I'd probably go Ridley second. So I go Woods, Ridley, Brown, OBJ. Let's see here. Eric says, what's your take on Alvin Kamara being at the number 3 pick in a 12-team half PPR league? All right, Eric. I don't mind him there. To be honest, it's just, I don't know. I think if he's healthy this upcoming season, if he's going to get the red zone opportunity, if he's going to see an increase in total targets and receptions, there's a good argument for it. But personally, I would rather have McCaffrey, Saquon, or Zeke over him because those guys don't split snaps with anybody. They don't split carries with anybody. Alvin Kamara always has to deal with either back in the day it was Mark Ingram, or now recently it's Latavius Murray taking touches. So that's always been the tough thing. that's why I always kind of lean for him being my number 4 running back at this moment in time. But I could see the argument for going number 3 with him. At this moment in time, yeah, we're just going to go with the other 3 guys in my thought process. Chandler says, do you draft differently for things such as 6-point QB touchdowns and bonuses such as 100+ receiving / rushing yards? Do I draft differently? I've legitimately never played in a league where you get bonus points for yardage. I personally don't believe in that kind of thing, but again, to each their own. I do like 6-point per passing QB leagues, but I typically only do that when I go super flex or 2 QB formats, just to kind of make it a little bit more spicy and give the quarterback a little bit more value. So in your respective draft, it kind of shifts everything on its head. But do I draft differently? To be honest, I never take into account 100-yard performances because I've never played in a league in which that's the case. I've rarely played in leagues where it's like you get ADP or not ADP, IDP, individual defensive players. So I don't have any experience in that. So if you have a question about like those kind of scoring formats, I wouldn't even know what website to go to find how people produced last year in those formats. So thanks for the question, Chandler. But I would assume that you could approach it differently, but then again, it's kind of hard. Like I know Julio Jones is going to have a bunch of 100-yard receiving games. I know that he does that every year. Therefore, he could be more valuable than another guy. If that point bonus, like you get 100 receiving yards, you get 5 extra points. That could jump his overall productivity. But I personally I don't know how it kind of breaks down. Thanks for the question though. Let's see here. Do you believe Kamara or Zeke? Okay, sorry. Alex was saying, do you believe in Alvin Kamara or Ezekiel Elliott more in the number 3 slot half PPR? I believe in Zeke more. As of right now, Zeke's going to get more rushing attempts. He might not get much work he won't get as much work in the passing game, but he's definitely capable of it, and he's definitely going to be able to produce. And he's going to get more goal line work. Again, Tony Pollard touched the ball a couple times last season, but we have to remember that Zeke came out the gates after a 4-week vacation in Mexico, and then now finally figured it out after like week 2 or 3. So it took him a while to get into game shape. Now that he'll be ready to go, he's got his contract, he's happy. I think Zeke will be even better this upcoming season. So I prefer Zeke over Kamara number 3. If it was a full PPR, I could see the idea of Kamara going ahead of him. Just saying. Kenny says, would you rather have Mixon, Chubb, or Josh Jacobs? I'd rather have Mixon over the rest. Thank you for the question. Constantino says, OBJ should be better and pretty good this year. Yeah, he should be better. I don't think he'll be as bad as he was last year. I think he barely caught like 60% of his passes that were targeted in his direction, mainly because Baker was so bad. But yeah. Let's see here. Oh, we had a donation. Jason, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. AJ Green or Keenan Allen, full PPR, 10-team league. At this moment in time, I'd go at Keenan Allen in a full PPR. I think Keenan Allen's going to get more targets and he's going to get more receptions. He will always find himself open in comparison, and I don't really have to worry about injury history. The quarterback play is definitely different, but Keenan Allen's definitely had the body of work, in my opinion, to kind of lean me in that direction. Thank you for the donation. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Again, guys, I appreciate the donations. If you sign up with Patreon today, you get unlimited questions answered. You get invited to my Discord server. Look, there's a lot of things that are offered on the Patreon. All I ask is you go check that out. The link is down in the description of the video. You go check that out. You don't have to commit. Just go check it out. If it looks like it's worth it, then you can go ahead and join. Outside of that, all I ask is for you guys just check it out. Appreciate it. All right. So let's see here. What else do we got? We're almost at 8 o'clock. I'm going to try to keep that as the hard end date or end time. Excuse me. I really do appreciate you guys coming out here today and hanging out with me. But we've been out here for about 2 hours, and I got some work to take care of. I got some thumbnails to make in Photoshop, so I can post videos tomorrow. But either way, let's try to rip through these last couple questions, shall we? All right. What is your current feeling about drafting Gurley in the 4th? I don't mind it in the 4th. I think that's typically where everybody's going to kind of find him. Any earlier would be an absolute mistake in my opinion. But in a full PPR, it's kind of tough. Again, his injury, his lack of usage in the passing game last year. I don't know what we're going to see out of Gurley this year. I'm just worried. I don't mind him in my 4th round. But if he's your RB2, be very careful. He would only have to be in a 4th round pick if he's my RB3. That's the only time that I would even consider him. And even then, I'm a little hesitant. Christian Reyes says, "Hey Andrew, how's it been? I'm good, dude. We haven't spoken in a while, but I hope you're doing well as well. So I'm doing good. Hope everything's good with you." Nick says, "Can Hayden Hurst this year be anything close to what Hooper did last year? Can you really stack a team if you don't have a tight end early? But most tight ends after Waller have some risk." I do agree with that. Now, Hayden Hurst, just a quick topic on the matter. The offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons going into last season was Dirk Cutter. Dirk Cutter formerly was the head coach / offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. While he was there, he targeted the tight end position over 110 times a season. Prior to that, he was also an offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons in the early 2010s. So from 2012 through 2014, when they had Tony Gonzalez, they heavily fed him the ball 125 times a game, 125 times a season. Last year was pretty much just a culmination of, hey, we have an offensive coordinator that likes to run 11 personnel. We want to feed our tight end. Let's get it going. They did that. It was successful. Hooper stepped up. Hooper gone because he obviously took a fat contract in Cleveland. They had to fill in with a spot. I think Hayden Hurst is a very talented tight end. He's a former first-round pick. Sure, he's probably better than Hooper at blocking, maybe a little bit less athletic, but all in all, he's still going to get good targets. He's still going to be a good overall tight end, in my opinion. Matt Ryan needs his safety blankets, and I feel like a tight end is definitely going to be with that every single game. I mean, even when we go and look at what I think it was Jaden Smith. Goodness, I got to find the other tight end for, sorry, give me a second, guys. The backup tight end for the Falcons last year, when Austin Hooper went down, he was still a pretty good tight end. Where is it? Jaden Graham. Jaden Graham, number 87. Jaden Graham last season, when? Okay, so in the games in which Austin Hooper went out, he had 53 receiving yards in one game, and in the other game, he had 41 receiving yards and a touchdown. They like to target the tight end position. Just saying. Moving on. I'll try to get some questions going here. Aaron says, thoughts on DeAndre Swift. Will you be drafting him in your PPR leagues this season? Yeah, I don't mind DeAndre Swift. Just depends where I'm getting him at. At this moment in time, he was drafted to be the future running back of this team. Kerryon Johnson's dealt with a lot of injuries. I don't know if you guys have seen the knee brace that Kerryon Johnson has to wear on his right knee. It is an absolute contraption. It looks like he's in the Saw movie and it's about to snap. But regardless, DeAndre Swift should win the job. He is a more talented running back, but in terms of opportunity, we're just going to have to wait and see how everything kind of pans out there. Again, we don't get a preseason to kind of end up watching them win jobs on a weekly basis in the preseason, having a huge performance and then kind of getting more reps the next following week. It's a little bit different week for these rookies, or a little bit more different of a year for these rookies. So it's just kind of a tough transition in terms of anticipating what they can do. All right, Eric with the donation says, I've seen Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson go as early as the second round or early third round. On pick number 3, 12-team half PPR. Is it worth reaching for a quarterback? All right, thank you for the donation first and foremost. Now, we're asking about, I'm assuming this was a 2 QB league, right, Eric? I want to actually confirm this. Because if we're talking about a regular 1 quarterback league, and we're talking about drafting Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson in the second or third round, there could be a conversation there. But if you're going to grab them, just understand the give and take. If you draft a quarterback early, every subsequent pick that you make after that is going to be at a discount of a full round. And until the other league members in your said league are starting to make those picks, we won't really see exactly what kind of breakdown we have. But again, I kind of cover this all in my draft guide. I don't want to point you there. It's kind of shameless. But if you go get my draft guide, it'll pretty much give you the best idea of where I like to draft early quarterbacks, specifically Lamar Jackson, if I was going to do it. Outside of that, it's kind of tough to. Lamar Jackson, yeah, I don't mind him in the late second. Let's just put it that way. Late second, early third, I would not mind it. As a third pick of your draft, you can get Zeke if it comes back, and you have the opportunity to take like an Aaron Jones, and then in the third round get a Lamar Jackson. I'm never going to complain with that opportunity. Let's go ahead. Let me scroll down a little bit here. Damn, a lot of questions are flying in, huh? Damn, guys. All right. All right, just a single quarterback. Yeah. Like I was mentioning, I don't mind him in the third. I don't mind him in the second. Just depends. Kamara, Kirk. If Cook doesn't show up to practice, I'm not going to draft him, guys. I explained the reason why I don't draft early quarterbacks earlier today. It's a 5-minute explanation that takes a lot of time and a lot of breakdown. It's tough. I'll probably post the video just on it alone later this off season, but as of right now, it's kind of hard to go into it heavily. Is Scary Terry someone that you can rely on as a wide receiver one? Absolutely not. Dwayne Haskins scares me a lot, and I don't really think I can invest in an offense in which I don't really think that the quarterback's going to lead him into the right direction. He had a couple good games at the end of the season, but as your wide receiver one, that's a huge risk right there. As my wide receiver two, perfectly happy with the decision, but as a wide receiver one, you're taking a big risk, but it could pay off. You never know. Is Deebo Samuel come back as the 49ers wide receiver one? You would assume that he would. I mean, he was fantastic last year. When he was really getting it going, he could not be stopped last season within that offense. But so it just depends when he comes back. Let's see here. And he says, what about Robert Woods as your wide receiver one? If you start with RB Lamar, I don't mind that. Honestly, I don't mind that at all. If Lamar Jackson only has let's say, for example, okay, Lamar Jackson put up, if I'm not mistaken, 421 point something fantasy points in a 4-point per passing touchdown format. Okay, 421 points. Let's say, for example, he played a full 16-game season. That means that his 28 point per game average gets added on top of the 21. So that means he scores 449 total points. Okay, let's round it. 450 points. If Lamar Jackson in 16 games this upcoming season has a 50-point regression, it's really not going to hurt a lot, because ultimately that's a 21 total points that we're going to have to minus off these 16 weeks. So he only loses a 1.5 every week. So he's still going to be a 26.5 point quarterback. That's why I don't mind him in my third round, because he's still going to be an elite quarterback that's potentially scoring upwards of 3, 4, 5 more points than opposing quarterbacks. But you can't, I don't know. It just depends. If he regresses more than 50 points, then it becomes a problem. Again, you're trying to draft him based on what they did last year. You got to anticipate that it's going to change. Let's see here. Mixon or Clyde in a full PPR. I don't mind Mixon there. I don't mind Clyde there. To be honest, a lot of people are asking about Clyde Edwards. You just go check out my video. You'll get a better idea of how I value him. If you've already seen that video and you were still a little bit confused, I do think that he is a top 8 running back, right? Running back, not a top 8 prospect. I think he's a top 8 running back. Now, where does that kind of leave us? In a full PPR, he has a greater opportunity rather than a half PPR or standard. He is the starting running back of this team. If he's going to produce Kareem Hunt numbers, then you might as well take him before a Joe Mixon. But the uncertainty of knowing exactly what is going to happen leads a lot of us to being a little bit risk averse and going for a Joe Mixon that we can guarantee is going to score 15.5 points a week in comparison. So again, it's a matter of how risky or how ballsy you want to be this upcoming season. Gronk have any chance of being a top 5 tight end this year? No. I mean, I've seen Gronk run around. He looks healthier. He got a little bit of CBD in his system. But to be honest, is there a possibility he's a top 5 tight end? In order to be a top 5 tight end, you got to see upwards of 80, 90, maybe 100 targets. I don't think that they're going to feed him the ball that many times. He could be healthy, but it only takes a couple hits here and there, and then we have ourselves an injured Gronk again. But I mean, there's always a possibility. He shows up and scores 12 touchdowns this year, only has 400 receiving yards. He could end up being a very good top 5 tight end because of touchdown upside. So it's always a possibility. Let's see here. Okay, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, E-Rock. I appreciate you being here. Thank you, everybody, for coming along. I know it's 8 o'clock. I'll stay for a little bit longer. Because I know there's many of you asking questions. Now, before we continue, again, I want to mention it again, shameless plug. Like I started last offseason, I created a Patreon. Now, what a Patreon does is it gives you guys access to extra content. I'm always going to be making content here on the channel. Nothing is ever going to change. I will always be producing and putting out more videos every single week. You're not going to, see a shortage of those because of Patreon. The only thing that Patreon does is it offers you more. If you want to play in a league with me, boom. If you want to get my draft kit, boom. If you want to go ahead and join the Discord server where every day I'm in it talking to guys that are just asking me these kind of questions, but they're actually talking to me, there you go. You can find that. You want unlimited questions where you can literally text it to me on Discord. Boom, I can get it back to you, answer that question. These are the ways that you can go ahead. Don't spam KEKW, all right? Don't spam KEKW, all right? That's how you get it going. Okay. Anyway, you get the point. That's where you can find extra content. Appreciate it. I'm going to be here for a couple more minutes. I know there's a lot of you in here. That's why I don't want to leave, because I know a lot of you have questions and I want to get to everybody. I appreciate everybody being here. So I'll spend a little bit more time in here, but hard cutoffs 8:30 for certain. Okay, let's see here. J.K. Dobbins, question mark. Okay, Kevin. Who's the guy in Baltimore? That's a great question. Right now it's Mark Ingram. If J.K. Dobbins eventually gets a little bit more touches here and there, I could see him producing well. Let's not take, go crazy and say, J.K. Dobbins 5th round. And, you could. If some sort of, injury happens to Mark Ingram, or they're saying that he's taking first team snaps, there's a potential that his ADP could rise. But when we look at what the Ravens did last year, the Ravens were the most successful rushing offense in NFL history last season. They had the most rushing yards of any offense in the history of the game in the NFL. So when I look at what Mark Ingram did last season, 5 yards per carry. His yards per carry average was 5 yards. And then Gus Edwards averaged 5.7 yards per carry. Gus Edwards is a third string back now. Justice Hill not touching the ball. J.K. Dobbins moved into that RB2 spot in their team. That means he's going to have 100+ rushing attempts. And, if a guy like Gus Edwards could get 700 rushing yards like he did last season, just imagine what J.K. Dobbins can do. You could end up seeing 3,000-yard running backs / quarterbacks in this offense. You could see it. Is it a possibility? 100%, especially if J.K. Dobbins ends up playing better than Mark Ingram in the season. But I doubt that he takes the job that quickly, but eventually will happen. Okay, Kevin Moore with the donation. I really do appreciate it. Who's the guy in Baltimore? All right, yeah, we already got to that. Appreciate the donation. As of right now, yeah, it is Mark Ingram, but you can definitely draft them both. Mark Ingram going late in drafts. You can get him in the 5th. Then you can get J.K. Dobbins in the 8th maybe, and then you have yourself Baltimore's backfield, and you're set to go. Let's go ahead and see here. Josh Jacobs or Miles Sanders. Risky raw dog. So here's the thing. If you're playing in a full PPR format, you definitely want to go Miles Sanders. If you're playing in a half PPR format, you go to Josh Jacobs. Now, the reasoning why is because Josh Jacobs is going to have more red zone opportunity, in my opinion, more rushing attempts overall, but he will not get the passing game work like a Miles Sanders will get in return. Miles Sanders is going to dominate the passing game. He had 50 receptions just in his rookie year, and he only played 52% of the snaps. That is a ridiculous number. That number is going to increase in terms of targets, receptions. But if Josh Jacobs can kind of even out the playing field, turn his 20-some-odd receptions into 40, 50, then we have an even playing field, and that's when I would probably even take Josh Jacobs over Miles Sanders in a full PPR. But I could see the argument for both regardless. Alexander says, thoughts on the Rams offense on whether or not 12 personnel will be used like the end of last season. Okay, so I'm going to explain this because I explained this the other day to someone in the comments section, and I absolutely roasted them. And I'm not coming at you. I'm not trying to roast you. You're asking me an honest question, but I'm just going to give you my thought process, okay? So I went and I looked at how many times the Los Angeles Rams last season from weeks 13 through 17 ran 12 personnel during passing plays. They ran 12 personnel during passing plays 17% of the time. The other 80% of the time was in 11 personnel with 3 wide receivers, and the other 3% of the time was in 4 wide sets with 1 running back. So they only ran 17% of their plays in the last 5-6 games of the season out of 12 personnel. Even in those 17%, that's only like 57 total offensive plays. So if you divide that by the 6 total games that they played, they're barely running 7, 12 personnel passing plays a game. I'm not afraid of it. I do not think they're going to completely change their offense to 12 personnel. The entire Rams scheme is based on spreading out defenses with 3 wide receivers so that you can allow your running back to have running lanes because the offensive line is not as talented as possible. They run that zone BS scheme, which is very, I guess it leans to the idea where you're going to have to respect the Los Angeles Rams passing attack. You're not going to be able to fill the box with 8+ defenders, and the running backs will have an easier job. So anyway, hopefully that helps. Okay, let's see here. After the top 5 quarterbacks are gone, Lamar, Mahomes, Kyler, Dak, Russ, should I target someone like Brady and Ryan, wait for the upside of a guy like Josh Allen? Yeah, to be honest, that's what I would do. If you're not going to invest in one of those guys, which I don't think you have to, you can certainly wait and draft Drew Brees, Brady, Matt Ryan, Josh Allen, Carson Wentz, and be perfectly fine at quarterback. Even you can wait till Ben Roethlisberger and Cam Newton and pair them up, and you'll be perfectly fine. How many weeks do you think Marlon Mack will be the RB1 in Indy until Taylor takes over? Indianapolis, it's interesting. They have one of the better offensive lines, so I think no matter who's in the backfield, they're going to dominate. It's just a matter of how many touches go around and who makes that big play. And honestly, I think Frank Reich came out and said that they're going to run with the hot hand. It's just a matter of time. I think it probably takes a month. Let's give it a month, and then by that point, I think Jonathan Taylor wins the job. Josh Allen in the second round. That's funny. Big Al says, do you like Gurley and Bell this year? I have 2 videos on my channel, one talking about Gurley, one talking about Bell. I could say that I like them respectively at a specific value. If you go watch those videos, you kind of get a better idea of why or why not. But I appreciate the question. Just can't really divulge right now. Samuel says, I currently have the 2nd overall pick in my 12-team PPR league. Should I take the risk and trade down every pick to 7th to get CH and Mixon or Eckler or stay up? To be honest, I don't know how your league really works. You're just going to have to, look, when it comes to trading and stuff like that, it depends. It really does depend. You kind of have to figure, okay, if I send, you have the 2nd pick overall, you can trade down to the 7th and get another. To be honest, man, I don't mind that. I don't mind getting CEH and Mixon and then giving somebody Saquon. I don't mind that. You give him, okay, you give him the 2nd best running back, but you have 2 of the top 8. I don't mind that. I'll just put it that way. Oh, sorry about that. Who would you pick with the number 12 pick? Look, that's the thing. Who went in front of the number 12 pick? Name me the 11 people that have already gone, Freddie. And then I will be able to tell you who I would take at 12. You know what I mean? Can we talk over a candlelit dinner with a glass of wine? Where's the gauntlet? The gauntlet's over there. If you want Constantino, we can get that done. But yeah, we'll get the gauntlet. That's a good one. I like that. Stipe or Cormier tonight? Is that tonight? I don't know. Does someone have a link? Someone got the link for me? I would appreciate it. Someone got the illegal link. No, I did not mean that. UFC, nope. Do not come after me. I do pay for pay-per-views. Wink, wink. I do not use Reddit. Wink, wink. Anyway, who do I got? I think Stipe is a stud, but I have a feeling that Cormier wins it. I think Cormier is going to approach it a little bit smarter than he did last time. Cormier was winning that second fight, and then he started getting pieced up to the body, and he had no way of countering it for some reason. Stipe kept taking damage, kept coming forward, and eventually he just body bopped him into a different dimension. But I think Cormier maybe figures it out and then retires, which he's supposed to, right? Let's see here. Todd Gurley, McLaurin, DJ Chark, in what order? These are tough questions, guys. I don't know what you're scoring. Oh, you said full PPR. Okay, I can do that. Not a problem. I go DJ Chark, then McLaurin, then Gurley at this moment in time. A lot of you guys are asking about Gurley, man. It's crazy. Nicholas Simon says, Todd Gurley. Some say he's a league winner. Some say he's a season killer. I think that is a fantastic quote, and I might have to steal it from you. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, he's both. He truly is both. Clyde Edwards or Miles Sanders. Honestly, they're both top 12 running backs. Just depends on who you think is going to be better. I trust the offense of the Chiefs more. That's just why I would probably go with CH. Let's see here. No Josh Allen in the second. All right, cool. Where should Eckler be drafted? I think Eckler, if he's in, okay, depends on your scoring format. If he's in a second, if he goes in the second round of a full PPR, that's fine. If he goes in the third round of a half PPR, that's fine. So I think that's where he's typically going right now, and I don't mind him going there. I'll message you a link of the fight on Twitter. I just need you to blink twice. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Who's the Patriots defense of 2020? Okay, so like I understand what you mean. The best defense in fantasy this year will probably be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Even though they play the Ravens twice, I do think that the Pittsburgh Steelers defense has way too much talent and way too much opportunity to kind of fold on a 2020 season in which they already have all the talent and they're so dominant defensively. Just to kind of put it in perspective, I mean, the Steelers went 8-8 last year, even without Ben Roethlisberger, because that defense carried them. And they were ridiculously good in terms of fantasy points, if I'm not mistaken. I just need to confirm that really quickly. 2019, let's go to defenses, fantasy points, Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, what did they do last season? What the heck? I mean, they had 180 fantasy points. They averaged almost 11 points per game. I mean, that's as good as it gets. The amount of turnover, they had 20 interceptions, fumbles recovered 18. Dude, I mean, they're just all over the place. They're dominant. Ray K says, do you like Kenyon Drake this year? I love Kenyon Drake this year. Potentially a top 12 guy. If he can be the David Johnson of this offense, he should be perfect. Chiefs' schedule looks so easy. You know what's funny? They don't really have that easy of a schedule. It just looks easy because we know how good the Chiefs are. Mark Hall says, agree with the Pittsburgh defense. Yep. Max says, in a half PPR, I got Kamara at 5, Julio at 15, Eckler at 25, DJ Moore at 35. I'd say pretty solid draft. Can I get an invite to that league, Max? Like, I'm going to be honest. Like, if those are the kind of drafts that you're having, I want in, dude. I want in on those kind of drafts. Wow. Constantino says, who's the best FF insider? And then he exclaims Andrew. I appreciate that, Constantino. I do appreciate it. I don't think I am. I like the FF ballers. Those guys are fun. I'm just here having fun, enjoying life. To be honest, is there such... Okay, look, there are some people that far and away just somehow know the future. Those people that win those... what's it called? Those 1 week $1 million contests. Those are absolutely insane. I don't know how they do it. I really don't understand. I don't understand how they do it. But hopefully you guys like my vibe. I passed the vibe check. We're all on the same page. Hopefully my explanations don't get a little too crazy. Maybe I don't stumble over my words too much. If that all goes well, everything works, I'm glad you guys enjoy the channel. That's all that really matters. You guys that are in here, thank you very much. All right, let's see here. Third pick, Kamara or Zeke? I'd rather go with Zeke, Sean. This is my thought process right now. I appreciate the kind words, though. Thank you, guys. Thomas or Kamara in a full PPR? I'd rather go Kamara. You already sent me a link? Yo, my man. Thank you very much. Wink, wink. We paid for the stream. Thank you very much. I mean, we paid for the pay-per-view. ESPN Plus. It's today's sponsor. Kamara is not going to get any red zone carries like Zeke is. All I would say is go back to 2018 when Alvin Kamara was actually healthy and just see how many red zone touches he had. If you want, I can do it for you. Alvin Kamara had 50 red zone rushing attempts in 2018. Second most, only behind Todd Gurley. For rushes inside of the 5-yard line, he had 13, leading to 8 of his total touchdowns in 2018, by the way. This last season, obviously, number decreased. Why? Injured. That's going to make a huge difference. On top of it, the guy's caught the ball 81 times a year for the last 3 years. And he was on pace to shatter that number this past season, so could do it again. What's your Instagram? Don't have one. Just have Twitter. I think Twitter's down in the description of the video. Let's see here. Bruin Backhand says, "What's up, Andrew? What's up, dude? Welcome back." Another great live stream. Which would you pair? Which would you rather pair in a full PPR? Julio, Carson, or Sanders and Robinson? Damn, that's a good question. Damn, that is a really good question. In a full PPR, I'm probably going with the Sanders combination because I do think Sanders will be a better running back than Carson. And I don't think Allen Robinson's that much farther behind than Julio. Julio's not going to be a top 3 guy this year. I think he'll probably be number 4 in terms of a wide receiver spot. I think Thomas, Tyreek, Devontae Adams, they kind of have the advantage on him. Maybe even Chris Godwin moves into number 5. Maybe Hopkins is at 5. So I don't mind the Sanders-Robinson side. But I could see the arguments for the other side. Just Julio's touchdown counts, they bother me so much. And Chris Carson, he's 1 fumble away from being replaced. That's always the concern with him. Max says, last question. Thoughts on DJ Chark this year? Got him at the flex. I think he's going to be good. Still want to get your thoughts. Yeah, 100%. I posted a video last week. Dude, I swear I posted all the videos that you guys are asking. Like, you're asking about Clyde Edwards. Got it. Todd Gurley. Got it. David Johnson. Got it. Le'Veon Bell. Got it. There's a video on the channel. I'm talking about DJ Chark. Check that out. I think he's a fantastic draft pick this year. If he had not gotten injured last season and had maintained the last couple weeks of the season, what I mean by that, he played 13 games. In the last 3 games of the season, he missed 1 full game, and then he returned and played 2 games injured and did not play at all. He had like a 50% snap count percentage. He didn't get as many targets. If he had just stayed healthy like he did from the first 13 games, and he'd played a 16-game season, he would have finished as the number 5 wide receiver. So go check out that video. I'm really excited about DJ Chark's potential, especially where he's going in drafts. Let's see here. How many more questions we got? Is it bad to pair Matt Ryan, Gurley, and Hurst, but have Gurley as your RB3? I think when you have 3 of a certain team, it's too many. Unless we're talking about the Chiefs or the Saints or maybe the Cowboys. But in terms of the Falcons, do I really want to invest? Look, you don't even have the best Falcons. Like if you said, hey, Andrew, I have Julio, Matt Ryan, and Gurley. Okay, that's better. But when you have Hurst, it's a little bit sketchier. If you have, hey, I have Mahomes, I have Clyde Edwards, and I have Travis Kelce. Perfectly fine with that. But when we're talking about the Falcons, a little bit of a trickier offense. I think 3 is maybe too many. 2 I'm fine with. 3, 3 you're pushing it, but I think you could still end up finding success. You just have to, you got to be careful. What is Clyde Edwards' floor, in your opinion? Floor, RB12. So he's still a top 12 RB, in my opinion. But that's his floor. That's like worst case scenario. He has to actually not get any touchdowns this year. If he, even in that scenario, he still produces well. He's going to produce over 200 points minimum. His upside, is really, that's when we start talking about some ridiculous numbers. Chark or McLaurin? I'd rather have Chark right now, honestly. I'd rather have Chark. McLaurin typically goes a little bit earlier from what I've kind of experienced, so I like Chark more. All right, guys. A couple more questions here. What round is too early to take Mark Andrews in a half PPR standard? And then you're saying 4th question mark. I think 4th is perfect. I think the 4th round is perfect. I think I think you might not even get him in the 4th. I'm gonna be honest. 2nd round, Kelce. Oh wait, actually yes, half PPR. 2nd round is Kelce. 2nd, maybe late 2nd, early 3rd, mid 3rd is Kittle. Then we get into the late 3rd, early 4th is Mark Andrews. Late 4th, early 5th, we have Ertz. Late 5th, early 6th is Waller. So the edges is where the tight ends go after Kelsey goes in the middle of the second. So it goes Kelsey, then edge. So yeah, I don't mind him in the 4th. I think that's a great pick. Consino says, thank you, Andrew. No problem, guys. Glad you guys showed up, hanging out, making life a little bit more interesting here. You guys are funny. I really do appreciate you guys' support. All right, let's see here. Would you draft? Okay, who would you draft with the 4th pick overall? Right now, it's for sure Alvin Kamara, regardless of the format. If in fact Dalvin Cook was healthy, it would be Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is really on that next tier. He averaged 19 points per game last year. He was honestly on a different level. And if he plays this year, he's going to be once again. Oh, non-PPR. Okay. So if we're talking about a standard league, completely changes it. 4th overall in a standard format. Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs. Those are the guys that come to my mind. Probably Derrick Henry. Or again, Dalvin Cook if he's ready. But if he's not, Clyde, no. I would not draft Clyde Edwards in a non-PPR league because his entire value is going to be predicated on catching the ball. Kevin says, what kind of receivers do you tier around DJ Chark? It's funny. A lot of the rookie guys, like, so DJ Chark's there, Calvin Ridley's there. I think AJ Brown's a little bit ahead of them, but McLaurin's also there. I think Cortland Sutton. I think DK Metcalf's a little bit. Yeah, Cortland Sutton's there. OBJ's in that kind of tier. So that's where they're at in terms of fantasy. Just a couple names. Thoughts on James Conner? I hope he stays healthy because if he does, he could be a great running back this year. If he gets injured, I'm really worried that he could lose his job. Again, this is the final year of his contract. Even with him beating cancer. I mean, if you guys, I don't know if you know about the story of James Conner. I'm sure you all do. In college, had cancer, beat it, got drafted, starting running back of the Steelers. Fantastic story. He would typically be a guy that would be holding out or opting out this season because of his health concerns. But, he needs to earn a contract for 2020 or 2021. And that's why he's going to come out and he's going to try to ball out, and I hope he does. Kareem Hunt or Raheem Mostert full PPR? Kareem Hunt. I go Kareem Hunt. Let's see here. 10-team PPR. What is the best draft slot this year and why? Number 1, not even close. I get Christian McCaffrey, who averaged 25 points in the last 24 regular season starts of his career. On top of it, in the second round, people are allowing a lot of relatively, I would say they're letting a lot of sleeper early round guys drop to the end of the second, what I mean by that is I was able to yesterday draft a league in which I got McCaffrey number 1, Aaron Jones in my second, technically my second round pick, and then Galladay in my third round pick. If you're going to allow that to happen, it's just unbelievable because McCaffrey already has 5-6 fantasy point advantage over all these other running backs at the position. His offense improved. I can't see a way in which I'm not drafting him number 1 if I get to pick where I get the draft from. It's just too good of an opportunity. Chark or McLaurin, or which are you choosing? I'm choosing Chark over McLaurin. Thanks for the question. Samuel says, thoughts on the Dolphins backfield? Jordan Howard's going to win that backfield. I don't know why a lot of people don't think he will. He's not a bad running back. He really isn't. The only reason Miles Sanders got the job is because he got hurt. Prior to him getting hurt, he was honestly not a bad running back. Let me actually look up the exact stat. From weeks 1 through 9 of the 2019 season, let's find Jordan. From weeks 1 through 9 of the 2019 season, Jordan Howard was the number 15 overall running back for the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 15 overall in terms of fantasy points. He was behind some pretty good players. He was a good running back. Averaged 11 points per game prior to his injury. Not bad. So yeah, I think he should be good. He's going to get all the goal line work for sure. Passing game, he's not capable of doing, but everything else he'll be fine. Breida will definitely get some. I'm not saying he won't. I'm just saying that goal line work early down work is going to be Jordan Howard's job. LJ Aguilar says 12-team standard 6-point passing touchdown league. I got the second pick. Keep Mahomes in the 9th or Jacobs in the 2nd. That is a very good question, and I don't know how to answer it right now. Standard 6-point per passing touchdown league. Mahomes as a starting quarterback in the 9th, you get to continue to keep him every year. I feel like, okay, typically I would say take Josh Jacobs, because if you want to win, Josh Jacobs is probably the easier way to get there, because you end up getting the 2nd overall pick, which is probably going to be, either Zeke or Saquon. So you have Zeke or Saquon in combination with Josh Jacobs. I mean, that's beautiful. I would love to have that in every single one of my leagues this coming year. But when we're talking about keeping Mahomes every single season from here on out, as late as you would, it's kind of hard to pass up on. That's why I'm a little hesitant on the answer. So yeah. Isaac says, who's the number 1 defense this year? I think it's going to be the 49ers. You said Niners. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Who are you picking 3rd overall? Right now, in my thought process, if we go half PPR, we go McCaffrey, Zeke, and then Saquon. McCaffrey without Cam? Question mark, question mark, question mark? What do you mean? He didn't have Cam Newton last year. In fact, he played worse with Cam Newton on roster. So, I don't know what you mean, Mark. Maybe I'm misunderstanding you. Thoughts on Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods? I have a video about them. They're both going to be great this year. They're both undervalued wide receivers. Go check it out. Joe Small says, what do you make of Swift and Johnson in Detroit? I think Swift's winning the job. Been seeing Swift before Johnson in some drafts. What's your take? I would do the same thing. I would take DeAndre Swift before Johnson, but if you're going to invest in the backfield, I think you have to grab Johnson as well in order to make sure that all of your bases are covered. Because if in fact you draft a guy like DeAndre Swift in the 5th or 6th round and he ends up not being the starting running back for the first 8 weeks of the season, you're going to have a running back that you can maybe flex here and there, but is not going to be an immediate starter for you. Josh Jacobs or Sanders, it depends on the format. Again, if it's a full PPR, I'm going Sanders. If it's a half PPR, I'm going Jacobs. Thoughts on Montgomery? I had a video. I think he's a good 4th running back on your roster. You can get him as your 4th running back, but if he has to be a flex play, I think he'll be decent. He averaged almost 10 points per game last year. He can't be as bad as he was last year. This upcoming season, he'll be better. He's a 10-point flex at the position, but where he's being drafted, I think I'd rather have some wide receivers at that point. All right, so it is almost 8:30. That was the hard cutoff. I've been here for 2.5 hours. I'm going to go ahead, sign off here today. Again, there's some MMA fights I'm going to go check out. Thank you for the link, my man. Again, if you guys want more content outside of the channel, go ahead, go down in the description, go check out the Patreon channel. There's a video there that explains everything. Hopefully you can check that out. My 2020 Fantasy Football Draft Guide is available now, whether it's on Patreon and or the website, so you can go check that out. I do appreciate you guys coming out here today. Make sure you click the like button before you leave. I really do appreciate it. Outside of that, hopefully I answered everybody's questions. If you have any other questions, you can still DM me on Twitter or something like that. I might not reply immediately because, to be honest, I get so many. But if I eventually can get there, I will answer them. Again, thank you very much. Samuel with the last question says, is it important to have a running back at the flex in a full PPR? No, you can easily put a wide receiver there and be perfectly fine. Anyway, thank you everybody for coming out, supporting the channel. Appreciate it. Until next time, I'll see you guys. Peace.